Welcome, you're listening to episode 3 of the Columbus Comics Corner podcast.
Cryo,
What if I came up to you?
He say he just deranged, rearranged in a different way. Interro bang, interchange, mysterious every day. Atypical ripples, lemon sickles, drop a new taste. Lucy Seuss is 1 or 2, it don't matter cause words play. Sour soak, sound wave, London fog latte. Them other niggas flipping scriptures like a preach say. Martin Luther King, 23, Zeta Gundam wings, doppelgang slang, brotherhood, spitting alchemy. Blunted gold leaf that I've been choking by the hour least. Sweet potato, maple, poison vine, ripe Selassie cheap. Sleeping when I quantum leap. Bible, Google, Chrome tabs, chose vocab with chakra chic. Jutsu like a deep pad, Hadouken back, I do in fact. Hidden tats is tesseract. Make a map, is chemist rap. Balance bonds, the tongue is tapped. Triple that, the trapeze, we drizzle sap. Subatomic subscripts is underneath and still intact. She my muse, staying molecular. Middle C by the vertebrae like I let it touch. Uppercut, superhuman spoons, I done bent a bunch. Renaissance, Harlem Harley Quinn, Jagger Jack, Jack Nicholson. Hack'll get a piece of some. Win a ball, Genesis. First to go insane, Forte, that be the axe I stuck. Wait a couple days, I've been amazed until the rapture come.
To you.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in again for another episode of the Columbus Comics Corner podcast.
Episode 3.
Episode 3. As always, this is Ryan, and with me as always is Kay. How you doing?
How's it going? Doing alright, yourself?
Not too shabby. I wish this weather would make up its mind. But that's Ohio for you.
That's Ohio.
That is Ohio. But yeah, there was some news that came out, comic book news that came out that we picked up on before the show, before we're starting to record. Some cool stuff. We're just gonna go down the line, starting with Marvel. Spider-Man's editor Nick Lowe teases a young romance between Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen. He mentions how Silk, Prowler, and Amazing Spider-Man all factor into the big event, which I'm assuming is the Clone Conspiracy. Is like the major event right now. So that's interesting. I had a question. I remember you mentioning Spider-Gwen's in a different universe, right?
Yeah, she as of right now, she's in another universe. She's on a separate Earth.
But does she cross over a lot?
Kind of, sort of. She does kind of pop back and forth, and she hangs out with Silk and our Spider-Woman. I can't really think of it if she's done anything. I know she's met Miles before. Like, I think she met him during the Edge of Spider-Verse event. I think that's when she first met Miles. And I thought this story was kind of funny because I'm not sure if I said this or not on probably episode 1. But when I talked about Spider-Gwen, I had talked about there had been rumblings before that they were going to do something like this with Miles and Spider-Gwen, and how awkward that would be because, Peter is essentially still a role model to Miles, and that's going to be kind of awkward.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yes. Yeah.
So it's probably going to be like, for a little while, it's probably going to be like, he's hanging with Spider-Gwen, but just don't tell Peter.
Yeah, keep him down low for a minute.
But then again, we'll get to this. Yeah, but after reading one of the issues this week, that might actually change.
Yep.
So I'll just hold off on my comments on that until we actually get to that topic. But I did find that very interesting that they're talking about doing this now.
Yeah, I look forward to see what they do with that. And then next, Marvel Comics revealed that Kieran Gillian's mystery series is going to be a spinoff from the Darth Vader books. It's going to be Dr. Aphra, or the breakout character from the Darth Vader series. So that's going to kick off this winter. I haven't read any of the Darth Vader books, but I heard that it's been pretty solid so far. So.
Yeah, I haven't read any either. I've been hearing the same thing. It's a pretty solid book. Who doesn't like Darth Vader, in some way, shape, or form?
Exactly.
So, that might be pretty interesting, especially since they're doing, with the movies, they're doing these prequels and everything now, and obviously with comics and books, it's so easy to do spin-offs and tell the story what happened in between this event or before this, or So I think that could be pretty interesting. Depends on what route they go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, to get off topic, did you watch the Rogue trailer at all? The newest one?
The one with Vader in it?
Yeah, I got halfway through and I was like, I'm not watching anymore because it was a long one. It was like 2 minutes. I was like,
Oh man, one of those.
Yeah, I was like,
I have not actually seen it. I think it was like they had 2 trailers before this one. The last one that I saw, they revealed Vader, but it was like a quick shot, like
at the end,
and they kind of showed him real fast at the end. But it wasn't anything like, it definitely wasn't a 2-minute.
Yeah, I probably mentioned this before, but yeah, like I usually watch one trailer and then I'm out. Like, but I was pretty hyped for the Rogue One. I was like, then I saw those 2 minutes. I started it, and like a lot was happening. I was like, nah, they're showing too much for me right now.
I'm kind of glad you said that. I was a little iffy when I first heard they were doing this. I didn't know what the story was. I just know it was a Star Wars tie-in. And then I saw the first official trailer, and I was like, okay, I'm sold, because that's something I always wondered about, was like, how did they get the plans to the Death Star? Like, I was sold just by that alone. Then this next trailer came out where they revealed, because with the first one, I was even like, well, that's around the time Vader was still, kicking around the galaxy. So is Vader going to be in there? And then they did the first trailer where they gave the quick reveal, and I was like, yep, I'm definitely going to see it.
Yeah, because there was so much hype behind it.
Yeah, there was hype behind it already with all of these Star Wars tie-ins and prequels. Because part of me is like they're going nuts with the prequels, because they're like, oh yeah, we're going to have a Yoda prequel, and then we're going to have a Han Solo prequel, and part of me is kind of like, you're going nuts. I can see why they got the property of Star Wars. Why not, like, it's Disney? Why not do everything under the sun with it? But then the other part of me is kind of like, do we really need these?
Yeah, the extra ones.
Yeah. And I was kind of like that with Rogue One until I saw, the first preview, and I was like, it looks good. The story sounds good. I mean, if you can tell a good story, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters.
Exactly.
I mean, for the most part, a lot of fans are going to be like, we don't want it. But if it's a good story, they're going to see it.
In the end, yeah. And Disney has the rights, they're going to do everything under the sun with that whole...
Oh, they're going to... Man, you better believe they're going to have tons of games coming out. I think... Aren't they doing a new animated series that follows after... what is the one they had? Was it Rebel Alliance? Was that what that one was called?
I know there was Clone Wars. And then... I forget the name of the newest one.
That's actually good. I saw a couple episodes of the new one they have is good. I just can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I think it's season 3 they're starting out, coming up soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, DC, they announced some books. One that's quite interesting that popped up a couple days ago. So I'm glad that came out before we recorded. So the first thing, they solicited Superman 14, Supergirl 5, and Titan 7, which is starting off new arcs for each of them. With Superman, it's going to be Multiplicity Part 1. The new Superman of China has been taken. The Red Sun Superman of Earth 30 has been beaten. And who knows what happened to Sunshine Superman. And someone's collecting all the Superman across the multiverse. It's huge. So it looks like a job for Kal-El, as he is joined by Justice incarnate in the multi-Earth epic. And it's going to be written by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason, with art by Ivan Reis and Joe Prado. So that'll be... I mean, I don't read much Superman books, but it sounds like it should be a... I've heard good things from Tomasi. So we'll see what they do with it.
It sounds like a pretty good storyline. It leaves me wondering who is abducting Superman from across the multiverse. And with something like that, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a big name classic Superman villain, probably one we haven't either seen in a while or one we thought was dead.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't really think they've done anything I can think of recently with Darkseid. I could possibly see Darkseid maybe hatching some kind of plan like that.
Yeah, I know they just did. They just ended on before Rebirth. I think they just ended with Darkseid War.
Yeah, they did Darkseid War right before Rebirth. But I mean, I could kind of maybe see that being a Darkseid thing. But then again, with the stuff that's going on in Rebirth and the missing 10 years and all that, and we know it's somebody who's got to be like cosmic level that's doing that. Maybe that's going to tie into the Superman storyline somehow. Maybe whoever it is, Dr. Manhattan, whoever it is that that is controlling everything right now, kind of sees like, well, you know what? Maybe I made a mistake with this Superman guy. Maybe he's more of a threat than I thought he would have been, and now he's trying to go back and fix that. So I can see it being Darkseid, possibly this mystery overseer, or I don't know. I don't know if they would do anything with Brainiac again. I thought what they did in Convergence, where they were like, because at first they made it sound like Brainiac was the central focus of who the villain was in Convergence, and that seemed like that could have been something that Brainiac could have done across the multiverse. So I think this could be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see and that comes out January 4th. Looks these first three that we're going to talk about all come out, and actually all of them come out in January. But yeah, so next is Supergirl 5. It kicks off Reign of the Cyborg Superman Part 5.
I think I want to read this. Just reading the title makes me want to read it. Like, I didn't know they were doing anything with Cyborg, Superman, and Supergirl. I will go back and get parts 1 through 4 just to read about Cyborg, Superman.
Yeah, see what's going on with that. You haven't read the new Cyborg book yet. I've been meaning to, but there's only so little time to read everything.
Well, the thing is, one of my favorite storylines, which some people might hate, but one of my favorite storylines growing up was the Death and Return of Superman. And I actually liked when they did the Reign of Superman, and I called him as obviously not being the real Superman, but I liked the character of Cyborg Superman. What was it? Hank Henshaw? Wasn't that his real name?
Yes,
I believe it was Hank Henshaw, but whatever his name was, I liked him as Cyborg Superman. I always get a little bit of nostalgia whenever he pops back up, because it's like at this point, everybody knows you're not Superman, but yet and still, he still wants to pose as Superman. Like, he still wants to take that appearance, which I think is hilarious to me.
Lex Luthor's still doing it too, so
yeah,
he's out there. I think they're doing a story with that too at some point. I think I read somewhere. But for Supergirl 5, so the Reign of Cyborg Superman, as National City becomes a war zone, Cyborg Superman's plan to resurrect Argo City reaches its deadly final phase. Rain Argo City itself down upon the Earth. Supergirl is all that stands in the way of total destruction, but the clock is ticking and the stakes are rising, and she'll need brute force. So, and maybe Cat Grant will be helping out with the story as well. So tying in,
I'm not sure how that's gonna happen.
Yeah, kind of tying in that TV universe.
TV show, yeah.
Yep, and that's gonna be written by Steve Orlando and art and cover by Brian Ching. So cool. I
think it's funny how both companies are now scrambling to tie in their movies and their TV shows a little bit. And not saying that's terrible.
No,
like, Arrow. We talking about Arrow, how they have Diggles in the comic book right now.
Like a little touch of it.
Diggles on I like Diggles on the show, so it's kind of nice to see him in the comic. To be honest, like, I watched Supergirl season 1, and at first I didn't really like Cat Grant as a character, but then she kind of grew on me as the season went along. So I mean, it's kind of interesting to see her in the comic now.
Yeah, I finally finished that season 1, I think, a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I enjoyed Cat Grant as the character that she was.
Yeah, I think it's a DC thing too. I know that DC has a habit of integrating characters that have been made in other mediums. Like a prime example is Harley Quinn. Everybody knows Harley Quinn started in the animated cartoon in the 90s, and she became so popular that they threw her in the comics. So I that's one thing I do like about DC is they're not afraid to let somebody else play with their characters, come up with something to go like, that's actually a good idea or a better idea. Same thing with Mr. Freeze. Like, for the longest, Mr. Freeze was just your average diamond thief who just happened to have that suit and a cold gun, and it wasn't until the 90s cartoon where they gave him that backstory.
His wife.
The scientist and his wife.
Yeah.
And he's throwing everything he's doing is for his wife. It wasn't until then like, Mr. Freeze became a cool character. And they're like, you know what? We actually like that better than him being a diamond thief with a Freeze gun. So let's put that in the comics.
Let's keep that going.
let's keep that going.
I was gonna say, yeah, his reincarnation in they tried the storyline in Gotham before I stopped watching that show. I was like, I like the actor. He's been in some other good stuff, but I just couldn't get into that show.
I mean, I like Gotham. I do face some issues here and there when you try to incorporate certain characters. I don't think all of Batman's rogues gallery can be incorporated into that show.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they did a fairly good version of the Freeze origin.
Yeah,
but it's part of it is the fact it's like, well, you're like 20 years too early to incorporate Freeze.
And for a lot of characters, it's that way. Like
for a lot of characters, it is. Yeah,
and they just made Poison Ivy even older now, which is
they just upped her. I at this point, what I try to do, because I do like Gotham, what I try to do is I try to kind of imagine almost as like an Elseworld.
I was just gonna say that's how it is pretty much.
Yeah, if you're looking for Gotham to be like the true origin of all your favorite, Batman characters and Batman himself, you can't really find it in Gotham. But if you look at it as an Elseworld story, then it's actually really, really good.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it.
Like they just did the Court of Owls, and it's like if you read Batman, Batman doesn't find out about the Court of Owls until he's deep into being Batman already. Mm-hmm. Well, on the show he's like young Bruce Wayne, and he knows about the court. Yeah,
I'd really like to see if they do like a spinoff, do like a Gotham Central, and do something like with those storylines. Like that would be fun. Cause did they bring Joker in yet? Officially, kind of.
Not officially. They've been in the first couple episodes. They said that we had already seen who the Joker was. And everyone thought it was like there was a nightclub performer. It was at Fish Mooney's. He was like auditioning or something. He's a comedian. People said, "Oh, that's got to be the Joker." And then they brought in the young guy at the circus, and it was like he fit the bill of the Joker. Like I even thought that was the Joker. And then they was like, "Well, he's not really the Joker," but everyone started calling him Joker. And they've because that's like Batman's most iconic character.
Yeah, now they mentioned they had that other character too. I forget her name, the actress's name, but she kind of, I remember like I watched an episode and she kind of looked like the Joker at one point too. She had like the smile, like the cuts, you know what I'm talking about?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
I don't think, I feel like she was only around for like a couple episodes and then like they plucked her.
She probably was. They had some characters that only popped up like an episode or two. I probably overlooked her because I'm like, they're not going to do a female Joker. So I probably didn't pay any mind to that. I'm looking for the guy that fits the bill of being the Joker.
Yeah, I thought they might have been doing something with his origin through her maybe or something, but...
Well, the second the kid that everyone thought was the Joker, like for me, he fit the bill. Like even the way the young actor played the character, I was like, if he's the Joker, I would love him as the Joker. Like he played the Joker perfectly. Like he just didn't have the name.
Yeah,
he had the smile, he had the creepy laugh, he was cracking the jokes. They let him loose on Gotham, and he was just going crazy. Like he should have been the Joker.
Yeah,
they killed him.
I forget his name.
And they're supposed to bring him back.
Oh, they killed him. You said
they killed him, and then they're supposed to be bringing him back. Like he's coming back.
Okay.
So
yeah, I forget his name, but he's also. You ever seen the show Shameless?
No.
Okay, there's like a British version and a U.S. version, and he plays a character in the U.S. Show, and he's in the army, and then he like has a mental breakdown, and he acts like super crazy. So he like
so he's used to being super crazy.
So he fit that role perfectly. But moving on, Titan 7. This is the new threat of Home Sweet Home. It brings Wally West face to face with the Man of Steel. The two recognize each other as kindred souls from another world. Plus, the Titans set up their new tower in New York City.
I saw that. That's interesting to have Titans Tower in New York.
Yeah, changing it up. So I'm pretty excited for that. I've been reading Titans. I'm hoping that I wanted to get past this Abracadabra villain right now and see where the story goes from there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this new arc. Hopefully they start to move the story along a little bit further. And it's only a monthly issue. So
Okay.
they got time to, unless they I hope they don't change it because I like it being a monthly issue.
I think with them putting Titan Tower in New York, which obviously means that the Titans are going to be based out of New York now. I think that's good. That's a little interesting. Like DC's got this thing as of lately where like, let's put our characters in New York.
Yep.
Because I mean, Harley Quinn's in New York, so I'm pretty sure
Gotham has always felt like New York.
I mean, Gotham was always supposed to be New York. Like that's what it's supposed to be. Like a version of New York.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just interesting because very few DC titles normally take place in actual cities. They're always like
exactly, yeah, their own little
Star
thing.
City
Yep.
or Gotham City, Metropolis. What is that other one?
Opal City.
I wasn't thinking Opal.
Okay.
I was thinking, was it Keystone?
Keystone, yeah, there's Keystone, yep.
Didn't they have Keystone City? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It's always like, you know, a fictional city that looks like an actual city that we can go to.
Yep, exactly. But that'll be cool. And then this next one, that one that the news just came out a couple of days ago.
Yes, I was hoping you were going to touch on it. I know exactly what it is. I know what it is.
Have you seen... Actually, okay, so DC Boom Studios is teaming up with Power Rangers IP owner Saban Brands to release a 6-issue monthly miniseries titled Justice League / Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's also beginning at the beginning of January. And this series will feature a Justice League team comprised of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Cyborg, and Green Lantern. In addition to the 6 team members of the 1990s Mighty Morphin iteration of the Power Rangers, being Zach, Kimberly, Jason, Trini, Tommy, and Billy. And Tom Taylor.
I just want to stop for a moment and say, Tommy, Green Ranger, all day.
All
Go
day.
ahead.
This is going to be written by Tom Taylor of Injustice Gods Among Us, and art by Stephen Byrne, who's currently doing Green Arrow. He's doing a great job. So this came out of nowhere.
Yes.
They haven't announced if it's going to be in the same continuity as DC or Boom.
Doesn't make a difference to me.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a difference.
Hopefully
to me.
hopefully it's Boom continuity because
they need it.
Yeah, yes. They do need it. But yeah, that came out of nowhere. I was just like, what?
Yeah, I think I saw this like Friday or Thursday maybe. Like it popped up on my feed, and I was kind of like, huh? And then I'm like, is it going to be a verse thing? I'm guessing since it's 6 issues, it's probably going to start off as a verse thing, and then it's going to end up being a team up. Even though, you know, I grew up with the Power Rangers, especially these Power Rangers. Like, these are my Power Rangers. Like I said, especially Tommy. I can't wait to see the Green Ranger in there. But and a battle, like a fight, like I don't really see the Power Rangers being able to do too much.
Yeah, I mean they can call on their mech, but I mean at that point there's no point in having the Justice League, and you just need Superman, really.
Yeah, well, no, you don't even need Superman. You got Cyborg.
Yeah, true, exactly.
You got and this is going to be New 52 Cyborg, who's going to be able to communicate with technology, who's essentially going to be able to take over their Megazord. So it's like there's
But yeah, that came out. Have you seen Duke Thomas in his new costume and like the recent Batman stuff?
No, he's got a new costume.
Yeah, I put it in the chat if you want to check that out. It's kind of funny because he kind of already looks like a Power Ranger. I do not like his Zack Snyder's costume, or not Zack Snyder, excuse me, Scott Snyder's I'm stupid. Zack Snyder. It's always there's too many Snyders in the DC world right now. Yeah, but I'm not a fan of the new Duke costume at all. He pretty much looks like the Yellow Ranger, and he has like a Batman logo on his chest and the helmet. But yeah, not a fan. But I'll check out the first issue. See what happens.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my.
So hopefully, I hope he gets a new costume at some point soon.
Yeah, after seeing that, there needs to be a new costume.
Yeah, so he's not going to be in that miniseries. It's like, hey, we have unless they make a joke about it. As long as they make a joke about it.
Hopefully, there will be some kind of joke made where they acknowledge the ridiculousness of that suit, because that is ridiculous.
Yeah, something tells me like Zack Snyder may have already like had this known about this in the works for a while, and he was like, I'm gonna make Duke look like a Power Ranger.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that could be. He was setting that joke up early.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But yeah,
everyone's
that is
gonna make a joke about this costume,
right. I hope so. Well, yeah, that's all the comic book news that came out. Nothing from any other studios. But Boom's involved with the DC thing, so good for them.
Yeah,
get them some attention, at least.
Yeah. There'll be something else for me to add to my collection of crossovers.
There you go. There you go. And we are gonna move on to comics now.
Yes.
This is a good week for books. Some good titles. I'm glad we're doing Puppet Master Halloween. That was which we're going to talk about first.
Yes.
The 1989 The Creature one shot. And since this is your book, I'll go ahead and let you take over on this.
All right. Well, I'm not sure how many people out there have actually Puppet Master is probably something a lot of people do remember. They just don't remember at the same time. But obviously, the main story is a old-timey puppet master discovers the Egyptian art of bringing life to inanimate objects, and he does this to a bunch of his marionette puppets. They made a slew of movies. I think it's like 12 movies or something now.
Yeah, it's a lot. Master. A lot of direct.
They've got toys, comics. At one point, they were going to have a live-action TV show or something. But this book, interesting enough, actually takes place in between a couple of the movies, which I thought was very interesting.
Okay.
Yes, it takes place in between Puppet Master 1 and 2. Because at the end of Puppet Master 1, the lady from the book, I can't remember her name. I think it was like Laura or something like that. Or
yes.
Well, here I am looking for it right now.
Megan.
Yeah. Wow, I was way off. Okay. Well, in the end of the first one, which they actually referenced in this book, is how I knew it was in between.
Okay.
Here. Megan is the survivor at the end of the first one, and her family owned the hotel. And it's not really stated that she takes the puppets at the end of the movie, but this says like, yes, she does indeed have the puppets.
Yeah, and just to mention, it's been a long time since I've watched Puppet Master. I remember like my brother like loved it, and it creeped me out. Like I watched a little bit of it. I remember. I know I got through the first one, but after that, I watched snippets of the second one. But it's been a long time.
Oh, I love it. I've got the box set sitting around here.
Nice.
But it was interesting because the book just opens up with the Bodega Bay, which people who know Puppet Master knows most of the movies take place at the Bodega Bay Hotel. And it turns out there's a hidden cave that no one's known about under the Bodega Bay. And we see a creature emerge from the cave, and he starts going up towards the hotel. And he goes to break into the hotel. And it's interesting because most of the book has no dialogue.
You don't know what is going on with this monster.
You don't know what's going on. You just know this monster is here. He's going into the hotel. And then he gets in there and he starts encountering the puppets. And he encounters Pinhead first. And Pinhead kind of beats him up a little bit. Then he throws Pinhead off of him and he exits out the room. And then he immediately runs into, I believe it's he doesn't run into him, but Blade sees him next.
Yeah, he's waiting around the corner with the blade or the desk. That was creepy.
Yeah, he's at the desk,
smiling.
And then the other puppets are alerted. Like Blade alerts the other puppets, like, "Hey, there's somebody in here." And so they all go looking for him. The monster gets attacked by a tunneler, and he throws him down. The monster's limping through the hotel. And then next, he runs into Leech Woman, and she tries to stab him. He throws her off. So the monster's getting beat up.
Yes.
We don't know why. We don't know why he's here. who he is or what's going on, but he's just getting beat up and he's still going. Then he finally runs into Blade. Blade takes, slices him up a little bit. He gets away. Now he's crawling. first he's limping, then he's kind of sliding. Now he's crawling.
Yeah,
he's
slowly
crawling,
throughout the book, just getting worse.
Yeah, so the rest of the puppets run up to him and they start, kind of going at him, and then they realize like that looks like a mask, and then they pull the mask off, and it's a young man under the mask, and then that's when we get the monster quote unquote flashback, where it turns out that his family used to actually work at the hotel, and after the events in the first movie, where all the employees were fired, his family left the hotel, went and found jobs, and for whatever reason, these young kids in the area know about this cave and they're having a Halloween party in the cave. And somebody has the bright idea, like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if you went up there and scared your old boss? We all know she's living by herself, so it's pretty creepy up there. Why don't you go scare her? And he doesn't want to do it at first. He's like, she was nice. We're not mad that she fired us. Family has a job and everything. Everything's fine. So obviously, they peer pressure him. He says, fine, I'll do it. And he goes up there. And it shouldn't be funny.
No.
But he goes up there. He says, give me 10 minutes. And he goes up there. And he essentially gets killed by the puppets. And the puppets realize, oh, this isn't some kind of demon or something or monster. It's a regular person. And then, so he's obviously been gone for longer than 10 minutes. So his friends are thinking like, hey, it's been 10 minutes. So they run up to the hotel. And they come in pretty much right as the puppets were standing over his body, and they instantly freak out. And then it's funny because they cut immediately to the next day, and the lady wakes up. She's coming downstairs, and she's talking about how her family used to have Halloween parties, and they should do it again. And I thought it was hilarious. She doesn't notice the puppets just look like something's wrong, like they're all standing around with their hands behind their back, just looking awkward, like something's going on. And then the last shot of the comic, it goes outside the hotel, and it goes back to the cave. And we go into the cave, and it turns out the puppets killed everybody at the party, and they drugged their bodies and left them in the cave down there with no way to find them.
Yeah.
I thought this book was hilarious.
I like this book a lot. And like you were saying, like how there wasn't much dialogue, but the creep factor like made up for it, and like the facial expressions.
And
it was,
even with the puppets.
Yeah.
Even with the puppets. Yep. Which was amazing. that shot of them in the morning, like, not because the puppets can't talk. So it's interesting to see how you do a comic series about a group of characters, because there's always like 5 or 6 or sometimes 7 of these puppets. And it's like, how do you do this kind of series with characters that A, don't really have facial expressions, and B, don't talk? And they did it with this.
Yeah, and it was great. And in a one shot too.
In a one shot.
And like the reveal of it being like a group of kids, and like the next day, like you see like when you're looking at the cave, like you see like the blood trail going into the cave. I was like, man. And for someone like that probably hasn't seen the movies, and for me, like being in a while, when he found the family photo, it made me think that like maybe it was like a family member that transformed into that monster. So I could see how someone like not knowing Puppet Master could be like, oh, maybe he got transformed and just being confused. But then with the kicker at the end, you're like, oh shit, like.
Let's see. Like I said, I've seen all the Puppet Master movies, and later versions of the movies, they started explaining the backstory of what the formula or the spell is that gives them life, and it goes back to Egypt, and they started dealing with like Egyptian demons and everything. So part of me, as someone who's seen Puppet Master and knows about the history of Puppet Master, I'm like, oh, they're sending some kind of demon on Halloween, for whatever reason it's Halloween, and we always see the movies where like that's the one night when evil has the upper hand, so they're able to send a demon.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you said, they showed the part where he's looking at the picture. I'm like, oh, well maybe it's her parent or something, because her parents died in the first one. So maybe her parents and someone turned them into a demon, and they're trying to get to her for whatever reason because they remember that's their daughter. And then it was the reveal that it was the kid, and I was like, that's a mask. That's a person. That's like a teenager. And then it immediately does the flashback to like 10 minutes earlier, and it's like, oh, yeah, they were drunk, being stupid, and he just said, hey,
he got convinced. He got convinced to go up there. He didn't even want to do it, and then
he didn't want to do it. He died for it, and that reveal was awesome. And then the final, like you said, the final panel reveal of the cave with the blood and everything. Mm-hmm. Those two reveals were like great. They handled those perfectly.
And Pinhead hiding the kid's ear behind him when he's talking to Megan the next, or they're like she's talking to them the next day. That was great.
It is funny because the way they did the puppets, it just reminded me of like one of those cartoons where like they're trying to hide what they did and trying to act normal, and just had that awkward whistle. Like I could imagine the puppets whistling if they could. Mm-hmm. Like, hey guys, what's going on? Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like
good morning. Like
good morning. Look normal. Look normal. Yeah, so that was hilarious. That was definitely a great Halloween book.
Yeah, I'm glad you chose that because that was definitely worth it.
It's funny because I'm behind on actually reading Puppet Master, and this makes me want to jump back and catch up now with my Puppet Masters I have sitting. Like now, I'm going to go back and catch all the way up with Puppet Master. This one book, this one shot is like.
And it's probably pretty easy to catch up with Puppet Master because I remember seeing that because they release them. They have like a weird release date for them. I think it's like every other month or something like that. I remember seeing they were spread out. Like that.
It's spread out like that. Like I just put it on my pull list and was like, because when I got the first one, I was like, oh, cool, Puppet Master. So I got it, and then I went in the next month and they didn't have it, so I was like, okay. I went in the next month and they had it, and I was like, let me just put this on my pull list.
Yeah.
So I don't have to guess whenever it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always a pleasant surprise when I go to the comic store and I get my pull list and there's a Puppet Master.
And with it being Halloween coming up, this is a perfect book to talk about. I'm surprised they didn't release it, Halloween week. Maybe they'll do something else. I didn't see any.
Yeah, that would have been awesome for this to have been like either the week of. I'm not sure what day. I don't have my calendar in front of me. What day the Halloween falls on this year? But even the week,
it's a Monday.
It's a Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe the week before would have been. This would have been great.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I mean.
I'm glad they put it out.
Yeah. Trying to see if because the only ads they have in there is the ad for this one and some of the other books that are some of the other books.
Yeah,
everything else is like the variant covers.
Okay, I did notice it was a. So that makes sense that it is from the first movie because I recognized all of the characters. So I was like, okay.
All the puppets, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I never, like I said, it's been a while. But I remember I did a little bit of research and seeing at one point, did they battle Nazis or something like that?
Oh, the Nazis have always been a part of the Masters' history, even in the first one. Because the Andre Toulon, the guy that actually made the puppets and everything, he was in Germany during World War II. Nazis found out about his abilities and they wanted to weaponize him and use it. And he had to fight to escape from Germany, and they tracked him down. They died in the first one, but they had finally found where he was staying at. So Nazis have always been a part of Puppet Master,
the whole universe,
especially when you watch the third one. And I believe the 10th and 11th one, and the one that's going to come out, all of those are like heavily have Nazis in them.
Oh, so they're doing another, is it direct DVD movie?
Yeah. I don't think Full Moon has done anything theater-wise since like the late 80s, early 90s. I think the last thing that they did that went to theaters was Prehysteria.
Okay.
It was either Prehysteria or Shrunken Heads. Well, They've always been a independent movie company, and so they've always kind of focused on independent. So direct video kind of works a little bit better for them.
Yeah, and it gets to everyone
with their fan base.
Yeah,
their fan base will find out about it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like a cult thing. Like a ton of their movies from the '90s are all like cult classic movies. So they have Puppet Master. They had Head of the Family. They
Hellraiser.
No, they didn't do Hellraiser.
Oh, they didn't? Okay.
No, they had Subspecies. They had Demonic Toys. They had Dollman. Like, all of those ones I just named are like cult classic Full Moon movies. There's other ones too, but those are like some of their top movies.
Okay, that's what's up.
So if anybody ever gets a chance to and you're interested in Full Moon, check them out. Dolls is another one. I think Dolls is the first one I saw. It was before they were Full Moon, and it's similar to Puppet Master. That's the only thing you should be prepared for if you're going to watch any of the Full Moon movies. Be prepared because a lot of them have to do with small creatures that are alive and kill people.
Yeah, and it's creepy. Like I remember when I was young, that like I said, I was creeped out like during this whole book. Like, there's such a creepy thing.
Yeah. Well, the head of the studio, Charles Band, whose name is on it, he's the creator of Puppet Master. For him, that's what he says. Always one of the creepiest things to him are small things that are alive. So that's why a lot of their movies are like dolls or doll-sized creatures.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of people, that's creepy.
And the fact that they don't talk and they just like cause havoc.
Yep. There's almost no movies that they have. There's a couple that they have where the creatures do talk, but most of them don't talk and they're creepy looking. So they have that.
Yeah, there was one confusing part in the book. I think it's when he's cut off by a pinhead, and then it cuts. It's like kind of confusing how he got into the elevator. But Blade's like stabbing him while the elevator's going down. There's like, because the panel before I remember showed like when he cut him off, they were by stairs. But I didn't see like any. But that's just my only nitpick.
Well, the thing is, if it's one of those scenes where you got to kind of look at it a little closer. There were stairs, but there was also a hallway. Like Pinhead was kind of in front of the stairs, but there was like a little hallway almost right in front of Pinhead.
Okay.
That hallway led to the elevator.
Okay. I'll have to go back and see that then.
Yeah, if you go back and look again, like just at that one panel, you can see it, and you can kind of see like he kind of tries to duck off that way, and it turns out that's the elevator.
Okay. Well, that works then. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I think because of the lighting, because everything's in like that dark blue, and it's supposed to look like it's nighttime and dark in there and everything. You kind of gotta look a second time at like especially that panel. I think that's the only panel. Like when I first saw it, I did the same thing. Like, wait a minute, how's he in the elevator?
Yeah, I remember getting a chance. I think I read through it at least twice. I was like, because the first time was really good. It's like, oh yeah, I like to try and get 2 times in if I can. Definitely before we record too, but it's just finding time, especially lately. Like, yeah, it's been a busy week for both of us.
Oh yeah.
But do you have anything else on that book?
No, great book.
Yeah,
good read.
Definitely worth picking it up.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to see what they do. We have your next book.
Yes.
I'll let you go ahead.
Well, my next book it's an Amazing Spider-Man event, and if that doesn't give it away for anybody, or if they didn't actually read the title of this episode, it is Dead No More: The Clone Conspiracy. This is the big Spider event that they've been kind of hyping up and talking about the last few months. There's been a lot of so about it. Some people want to skip it, some people want to read it.
Yeah, I heard mixed things about it, but it's whatever.
Yeah, that's because a lot of people, they're like, oh, Spider-Man, it's a new Spider-Man storyline, awesome, and then they see the word clone and they go,
Yeah, because they've done, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 now?
They've done 2. I mean, technically, you could say they've done 3, because the attempt to clean up the stuff that people didn't like about the second one was another Clone Saga. Okay. But since that other Clone Saga was still going on, you can technically put those together. Because what you're thinking of is the original Clone Saga.
Yeah, from back in the day.
Which, if I remember correctly, wasn't even called the Clone Saga. And then there's the Clone Saga from the 90s that gave us Ben Reilly and the Scarlet Spider and retired Peter Parker for a little while. And that was the one where they said that Peter was the clone from the end of the original Clone Saga and that Ben Reilly was the real Peter Parker. And so for the last, I think that was probably like 50 years at that point in time. We had been reading comics that had featured the fake Spider-Man
the whole time, yeah, which made people,
yeah,
a lot of people,
made
like,
people
upset.
mad.
Yeah.
So what they did was they immediately went into damage control and they had something called maximum clonage, which was the attempt to actually clean up that continuity and restore everything to where, well, no, Ben Riley is the clone, and Peter really is Peter, and everything that we thought was going on before was false. I mean, there was some kind of good stuff that came out of there. Like, I like the Scarlet Spider, so I got the Scarlet Spider out of there. I liked when Ben Riley was Spider-Man. I got that cool Spider-Man suit he had, and then for some people, we had Spider-Girl for a little while with Mayday Parker.
Yeah.
Which, that was a great Spider character, part of me is kind of mad that they had to use the Clone Saga to turn that into like an alternate universe type deal. But that's the reason why. Actually, I'm sure my explanation of all that was convoluted enough. That'll explain to people why people shy away from Spider-Man things to say clone on it. But in this book, I apparently missed something from the last few issues of Spider-Man. Apparently, did Aunt May marry JJ's father?
Senior. Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah,
I saw that
she
too.
married.
I remember hearing that before I read this. And then, did you know about Electro?
No, I did not know until this book.
Okay, yeah, I had heard about that prior to this book too. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, I have to admit, like, I love Spider-Man and everything, but I have fallen off on Spider-Man. Part of that is because of the Secret Wars 2 and the Superior Spider-Man incident, because I still haven't read all of Superior Spider-Man. I know there's going to be some people who are going to talk so bad about me for not reading Superior Spider-Man.
What else?
But I do have it. I have the trades for Superior Spider-Man. I haven't read it. But yeah, it picks up with the funeral for J. Jameson Sr. And apparently Jonah's there with his son, and they're mad at Peter because Peter talked J. Jameson Sr. out of getting an experimental process that could have saved his life. And at first, they're kind of, vague as to what this process is or if Peter actually did. And it isn't until, what's her name? Anna? Is that her name?
Yeah, Anna.
Anna, who I do know about,
yeah,
she was with Superior Spider-Man. She was supposed to have married Doc Ock when he was Spider-Man. But she asked him the question, like, do you want to talk? He's like, not really. And she's like, well, you need to talk. And something tells me this is Spider related, even though, this was a conversation between you and Jonathan Sr. This seems like it's Spider-Man related somehow. And so Peter goes into the process of telling the story of how he knew that J. Jonah Jameson Sr. was dying, and that there was a process that was suggested by a company where they actually are able to clone perfect duplicates of people's organs for transplants. And he thought that this could have been a pretty good process and a pretty good alternative, but it was a new procedure, and there was no, actual scientific data to support it. And all his research into it still said it was inconclusive. So there was an accident at one of Parker Industries' buildings, and there was an employee that was hurt, and he was in danger of dying. So Peter, doing something that's not really Peter-ish, if you will, seems something like Tony Stark would have done, decides to use this employee as a guinea pig. So he pays for this procedure. They clone his organs, and during this whole process and everything, he realizes, like, this isn't, concrete still. The guy's still alive.
Yeah, but he got that spider sense.
Yeah, the guy's still alive, but when he goes to shake the man's hand, like, his spider sense goes off. So Anna's like, well, does that normally happen? He's like, well, my spider sense normally kicks in when I'm in danger, and even then it's not specific. It doesn't normally kick in when I just touch somebody who's not a threat. So what they decide to do is he decides to actually do a follow-up with the employee to see how he's been doing, to see if indeed, this was something that he should have told Jameson to go ahead and do. And so they go over there, and it turns out that the lady's husband is actually gone, and she won't tell them what's going on. She just says that, oh, he's sick, He's in the bed. He can't come down right now. And Anna threatens to call the ambulance. Like, well, if he's sick, let's call the ambulance. And she's like, no, don't. I'll never see him again. They said they won't bring him back. So it turns out that they went on a retreat. They went on a camping trip, and she left his meds at home. And he's supposed to take these meds every single day. And so he figured, a day or two without the meds, I'll be fine. And something started happening to him. And she had actually reported it, but the people, when they came in to get her husband, erased it, took all his clothes and everything, and left. And this actually happens to be a product that Parker Industries makes. So Peter's like, well, give it here. I can probably recover some of the data. And he recovers the data, and they see that it seems like something's going on with his body, like he's transforming. And so he's like, don't worry about it. Francis, Spider-Man, you guys are part of the Parker Industries family. I'm going to take care of you. So he goes to the actual headquarters of this company that does this procedure. And while he's doing this, Anna is at another laboratory trying to figure out what's actually inside the medication. And as he's going into the building, she's like, well, we should be able to figure this out in a little bit. And his comm system's going in and out. And then he finally just cuts out. And it turns out that when he shook the guy's hand at the hospital, he actually, as soon as his spider sense went crazy, he shot him with a spider tracer. He has spider tracers now that can apparently go under the skin and be undetected.
He's a detective of Marvel. Detective Batman of Marvel.
Which is awesome. So he actually tracks it to the lab, and he goes up to the tank, and it was like, it's essentially a nervous system. It's a human nervous system with the eyes just sitting there. He's like, well, this guy's obviously dead. Then he sees the eyes moving. He's like, no, he's still alive somehow. And then the lights turn on. He turns around. Do I need to go any further?
Oh, yeah. This is a spoilers podcast.
Well, it's not just the spoilers thing aspect of it. It's the fact that this is the point where a lot of people are probably going to be so upset if they didn't know going into it. He turns around, and it turns out it's Miles Warren. And for those who don't know, Miles Warren is a character called the Jackal. He is also the character that actually kicked off this whole clone stuff back in the 70s. He's the one responsible for both Clone Sagas. And he was believed to have been dead. So Peter notices that it's Miles, and instantly he goes into fanboy mode because he just goes nuts and goes into a rage like, not again.
Yeah. That was funny.
He was like, he doesn't give him a chance to explain anything. As soon as he sees his Miles, he's like, nope, shut it down now. Nothing you can say. So Miles freaks out, starts running, and he calls for security. And his security team comes in, and it's kind of like, this is Spider-Man. You can't call in a regular security team.
No.
And it turns out that that's not the security team he was calling in. The security team he was calling in was Electro and Rhino. Come busting in, surprise Peter, surprise me. Did not expect to see either one of them working for Miles. And so Peter's like, why are you guys working with him? He's crazy, and this isn't y'all's type of thing. And Rhino mentions that he gave him back his wife. So that tells us right there that he has cloned the wife of the Rhino.
Yep.
And that's how he has the Rhino working for him. And he says, Electro, I thought you were dead. And I guess it turns out that Electro's DNA was transferred to somebody before he died. They were able to use that DNA to actually clone him, which is funny that we're using the word clone, and that'll make sense in a sec.
Mm-hmm.
So he beats both of them, obviously, because he's fought the Rhino 1,000 times. And even though this is Electro, this is a new Electro who doesn't know all the tricks he's used to beat the old Electro. So he goes chasing after Miles after he beats them. Obviously Peter's still in like Wolverine Berserker rage mode. Just like ready to tear everything
apart. Get back here, Miles.
Yeah. And then he cuts down the hallway and he sees Gwen Stacy. And he's like freaking out for a minute. He's like, Gwen, is that you? And he thinks about it, well, like, no, this is the Jackal. He's done this before. He's cloned Gwen Stacy before and tricked me. This can't be Gwen. But the thing is that all the other clones have been setting off his spider sense. And Gwen does not set off his spider sense. So he's like, there's no way in the world that she could be one of his clones if she's setting off my spider. If she's not setting off my spider sense, when every other clone has done it. And then at that moment, while he's trying to actually think about the, could this or couldn't this be? This might really be her. He just gets hit out of nowhere. And then the next panel, we see that the Jackal has cloned Dr. Octopus, who, for all intents and purposes, has pretty much either been dead or trapped in a robot for a while.
Yeah.
And you think that's the end of the book. Like right there, seems like that would be the end of the book. And I thought it was too. And then I felt the pages and was like, no, this feels a little thicker. Like if there's at least another 6 or 7 pages left. After the main story, there's like a flashback story, which makes all of this interesting and makes sense to some stuff I said. You said you didn't see that?
No.
Okay, hold on to this. The flashback story is called The Night I Died. And this story is from the perspective of Gwen Stacy. And it starts off the fateful night when she was kidnapped by the Green Goblin at the apartment. It goes through the whole incident of her being at the apartment, getting kidnapped, her getting knocked out by the pumpkin gas, waking up on top of the Brooklyn Bridge, the whole conversation between Spider-Man and Green Goblin. That's at that moment when he's like, talking to Spider-Man and explaining he knows he's Peter Parker. She's waking up. So she knew that he was Peter Parker. And then, goes into the whole thing of the Goblin throwing her off the bridge, Spider-Man trying to save her, and then her neck snaps. And then the thing that it does after that is her neck snaps, and then there's a light, and then she wakes up. And when she wakes up, she comes out of a tube. And sitting outside this tube is who it looks like Miles, but he's got like a jackal helmet on, like a jackal mask, like an Egyptian jackal mask.
Okay.
And he's explained to her, like, she's like, how long have I been gone? How long have I been out? And I think he explained to her, like, I think he said like a couple hours or a couple days or something to her. And from her perspective, it's been a couple hours or a couple days.
Yeah. And
she's now on the other side of the country. But in all reality, he's like, it's been a few years since you've been dead. And he's explaining to her how he roughly explains the cloning thing. So she's like, so I'm a clone. And he's like, no, you're not a clone. It turns out that I don't know how or when he developed this process, but he has a way of harvesting DNA somehow from people, like not cloning, because the original clones were done from blood samples. And this somehow he was actually able to harness DNA from the body. And for some reason, harnessing it this way actually keeps all the memories. So, and he doesn't call it cloning, he calls it resurrection. She's being resurrected because for all intents and purposes, she is Gwen Stacy. She has all the memories, all the feelings, everything that Gwen Stacy had up until the moment of death.
Okay.
So he's explaining this to her, and she's still a little freaked out. And he's showing her the lab and all this, and then as an added bonus to her, he shows her Captain Stacy. It turns out that he also did the same thing with her father, and he didn't just bring her father back. He actually healed her because her father had a cane, a limp or something before he died, and he's actually able to walk now with no assistance. So obviously she's happy, and he's asking her if she will be a part of all this. And she doesn't say anything, but it ends with him smiling under the jackal mask. So that's actually the end.
Wow.
You were just reading if you were just reading it straight on, you would have thought Doc Ock was the end because it looks like Doc Ock is the end.
Yep.
But it's not. It's the Night I Died story at the end.
Okay, that makes things more interesting now too. No. Yeah.
And that's what I said when I saw that he was saying that she's not a clone. I'm like, well then, what she really wasn't dead then, or what? And he says like, I call it resurrection. If you harvest this DNA directly from the body, it has memories imprinted on it and everything. So forth. You are her. You are Gwen Stacy. And I was kind of like, that's interesting. And the reason that's interesting is because I said we were going to come to this. The fact that by doing that, they're saying to us, when the actual Gwen Stacy is now alive, Peter's going to be hurt, obviously, but he has a chance to heal from that. So Peter will have his Gwen Stacy, while I guess Miles Morales a chance to have
Yes.
his Gwen Stacy. So when I read this, when I read this, I was like, okay, so the problem I thought that they would run into with bringing Gwen back and with having Gwenpool and Miles Morales in the main universe, the issue I thought they were going to run into, in this one issue, they've actually laid the seeds to actually fix that issue, not have it even be an issue.
Okay.
So I'm actually excited to see where this is going to go. Like, I really want to see where this is going.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep reading it. Not reading any of the clone conspiracies in the past, and I don't read too much Spider-Man, but for a jump-on point, and especially with the backstory you said, I enjoyed this issue a lot. Yeah, the whole when the Spidey sense didn't go off with Gwen, I thought that was interesting, and the living brain, or not the living brain, when he's like looking at the body of that guy in the tube. Did you ever see RoboCop 2?
Yes, that's the Kane. When we saw Kane in the hospital.
When he's looking at his eyes. Yeah, it reminded me of that, but that was funny. And then him being able to retrieve the video footage like that easy, like it was like comic book quirky. Like he's kind of like you were saying, like he's kind of like a detective, like with the web tracker.
Because now he's got the the spider tracer that goes under the skin, and then when he broke in, he had the acid webbing and everything.
Yeah.
Parker Industries has allowed him to truly be a better Spider-Man.
Yes, all that money from Tony Stark probably too helped him out.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Parker Industries is partnering with Stark Tech and coming up with wondrous stuff.
Yeah, did you notice the when they were leaving Emma's, the silhouette that was behind that tree?
You said behind the tree?
Yeah, like when they're driving off, and you see like a silhouette. And like
no.
So when I got to the end,
try to find this.
Yeah, when I got to the end, and like I saw Octavius, I was like, that couldn't have been him because he's a way larger dude, and the silhouette's like, smaller. It was like, so I was a little confused about that, about who that could be.
Oh.
Yeah, so maybe
you know what? I didn't even notice that, and you just said that I had to reach over here, pull this out, and look at it real fast. Yeah, but the way he's standing looks like he's a Spider character.
Maybe it was Gwen.
Yeah, because the head looks almost like it has a hoodie on it, kind of. So it could have been Spider Gwen. I don't know why Spider Gwen would even have anything to do with this, but it could be Spider Gwen. I'm guessing it's a Spider character. For all intents and purposes, I would hope it would be Ben Reilly, but I don't think we'll be seeing Ben Reilly anytime soon.
They probably won't do that.
No, they don't care about people like me who liked the Scarlet Spider, like that Scarlet Spider, the original Scarlet Spider. Yeah, I'm willing to bet that it's a Spider character. I didn't notice that, but now that you mention, I look at it from the way they're standing, and it does look a little bit like there's some kind of hoodie or something on the head.
With it being revealed that guy was in the tube, I was like, nope, it wasn't him. So
yeah, couldn't have been him. Doesn't have the arms for Doc Ock.
Yeah, or the size.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that's a Spider character. Interesting.
So I wonder if hopefully that comes back up, because that's like super random, if not just to like throw in there.
It has to come back up. That's got to come back up.
Maybe like a flashback or something.
Next issue comes out in November.
Okay.
So I won't be able to find it until November.
Yep. It'll be worth the wait though. I'm going to keep reading this.
It sure will. I'm definitely probably gonna go back and read this again.
We'll have to keep talking about this like every other like month or something that it comes out.
Yeah. Because as of right now, they have me with this. I am on the bandwagon for the clone conspiracy.
Yes, overall I enjoyed this issue a lot.
Yeah.
I think that was all I had for it.
As do I. Unfortunately, I did not actually get to read the next book, but the next book is actually one of your books.
Yes, it
So,
is. We got the next two books are mine, and then our random choice, which was a
well,
novel.
I will say this. I did not read the next book, but the last two books I did read.
Cool. Because that Duck Avenger, that was a long one.
That was a long one.
We might be here for an hour talking about that one.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yes,
that
we
was
will.
that was a monster in itself.
Yeah. So the next book is Daredevil number 12. This continues the story arc of called Dark Art. Previously, the issue left off with Daredevil on the roof, finally meeting who we finally know goes by Muse. Recently, he had killed a bunch of people and used their blood to make a mural, and he put it in like a random warehouse. And then after the next issue after that, he killed like I think it was like 5 or 6 Inhumans, and like made like an art project out of them, pretty much. Like had them in different poses, ironing. One was on the toilet, and that's where issue 1, issue 11 left off with him finally meeting Muse at the end. So this issue it picks up. We back with Daredevil talking to Muse, trying to get answers out of him. And Muse, is going on about, how he's an artist. He's asking Daredevil if he's liked his last pieces. And Muse decides to pull the clip from a grenade, which turned out to be a flashbang. But Daredevil, not knowing that, jumps off the roof in time. And when he lands, he realizes that Muse was only making a performance. And then back at the Inhuman crime, what I call the Inhuman art exhibit, the Inhuman cops have arrived, and they're attempting to analyze the bodies to make sense of the murders. And there we meet Frank McGee, who was previously a cop, and now he's head of the Inhuman security. And Matt arrives after getting a call from Blindside, excuse me, or correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, Blindside, Blind Spot, excuse me. And Matt arrives, he's talking to Frank, and he wants to try to get, the Inhumans to share the security, or share any data that they get. Because there we learned that Frank McGee is now a Inhuman. And his ability is he's pretty much like a camera. He's able to flash the entire crime scene, and he's able to pick apart every little piece, like kind of like when you're playing any of the Arkham games and you go into Batman detective mode. Yep. So he's pretty much so he's able to do that, and he tells Matt that it's not up to him to share any of the data that they gather, and that he's going to have to speak with Medusa. So he goes to New Antillion as Daredevil to speak with Medusa and to ask her if she will share the information. She quickly turns him down and is not having any of it because she wants to show that she can take care of the Inhumans and protect them, and not an outside source. And there, Karnak steps in, and they get into it, and they start to fight. And then Karnak, being able to perceive others' weak spot, after they brawl for a bit, Daredevil picks up that Karnak has found his weak spot and that he's blind, and that at this point Karnak is going to be able to take him down. But Daredevil was able to kick him in the stomach real quick and put him down to the ground. And there again, he tries to convince Medusa to share the info, and she turns him down again. And then Frank walks up to Daredevil, and he's like, walk with me so we can talk. And he's like, pretty much, I used to be a cop, so I know how it goes. After he became a Inhuman, he's still a cop at heart. and he tells Daredevil that he will share any info with Matt Murdock, but he'll have to keep it on the down low. And there, as they're talking, he gets a call from Blind Spot, whispering, and Blind Spot's in a courtroom. And the final page is he's in the courtroom, and we find out that Muse has killed 2 cops and has a knife to the throat of the judge in the courtroom. And that's where the issue ends. You haven't read any of the recent Daredevil series, have you? I
haven't read any of the new Daredevil.
Yeah, I'll touch on it. This is because it's written by Charles Soule. Right now, I know he's doing a bunch of books. Since Mark Waid left Daredevil, it's kind of gone back to a darker route. They're playing off of the Daredevil show. His costume is actually the black costume, but he wears like red boxer boots, and the art's it's different. Like the art's, it's cool. I don't know, it's different. It's not my favorite, but it's just different. But for me, one of the things that kind of bugs me about the issue is he makes a comment about how the Inhumans are around a lot more, and it may be only a setup for him to meet with Medusa, but I found it as like Marvel again pushing X-Men further away from everything that's going on, which I hope it's not.
Of course.
I hope that down the road X-Men continue to have their books. I enjoyed meeting Frank McGee, new Inhuman, Flash digital camera, that's cool. The page of Daredevil and Karnak fighting was really dope. The color tones and the panel setup for their fight was really cool. Part 3, we're on part 3 of this story, and it's still pretty slow. We're not seeing much of Muse. I don't understand why. I don't know why the Inhumans really had to be involved with this. Hopefully, it's a longer arc, because the previous arc, the first arc was, I believe, 5 issues, and then they did a 2 arc, which is called Blindsman Bluff, which is only 2 issues. Which I recommend reading Daredevil number 10 from that arc, because it's a Spider-Man team up, and it's really dope. Like that was the highlight of Charles Soule's run on Daredevil so far. Like 1 out of the 3 arcs have been good for me, but because there's still questions like how people forgot that Daredevil is Matt Murdock, and that still hasn't been answered yet. So we're still waiting, for that outcome, but they don't.
Secret Wars 2.
Yeah. So they don't seem to be touching. Yeah, they don't seem to be touching on that yet. Overall, I'm close to dropping it. I want to see what happens with Muse. Like I said, hopefully it's a longer arc. That way we get more Muse, because Muse is like an interesting character. So I want to see, and he looks really dope too. I want to see more of him, but yeah, unfortunately I'm close to dropping the book. And like I said earlier, I know Charles Soule, he writes a lot of Marvel books, it seems like. So yeah, I'm just not sure if this is if he's focusing on this one a lot, or he's just taking his time. But the previous run with Mark Waid was really good. It focused on Daredevil and his lawyer side. But hopefully now that the issue is ending in a courtroom, maybe because part of the story too in this arc is he got a new job, and he's kind of working at the bottom, and he's still passing off work to his other lawyers and whatnot. So they'll excuse me, they're giving him a hard time already. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out with Matt Murdock needing to be at the court office and Daredevil. But overall, like I said, I wasn't really too happy with this issue. I feel it was just another filler. We got a cool fight scene with Daredevil and Karnak. But yeah, that's about it for that.
I will say one thing. I actually just looked up Daredevil's new suit.
Yeah.
Just kind of interested.
Yeah,
It
it's
kind of
interesting.
seems more like. It kind of seems more like that would have been like his maybe first costume, like on the way to making the actual Daredevil. Like seems like the
Yep.
early one. Like he started off with the black and was like, you know what, I need some red. And my dad was a boxer. Let me get the boxer boots. And then I'm guessing this is Muse with the white and black mask. That is a mask.
That's Blind Spot.
Oh, that's Blind Spot. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I was trying to find Muse. You talking about Muse? I was looking for him.
Yeah,
So that's Blind
I'll just
Spot.
send that to
All
you. I'll send that to you later on. But yeah, he's a cool looking character.
Send that to me.
But yeah, that's
Send
about
that
it
to
for
me.
that issue.
Yeah, well, it's a shame that you've gotten so deep into it, and you're like, I think I may be on the verge of calling it a day this for a little while.
Yeah, I'd like to see
Have
who
you
they
been-
get next to write it. Because I mean, everyone has to work, but I love Daredevil. He's one of my favorites. So I want his stories to because I wasn't a huge fan of the what was it? Not Dark Shadows. It was like the super dark story, but I wasn't like a huge fan of that, and they seem to be like going that route a little bit right now. But we'll see what happens with it.
I mean, in my opinion, Daredevil kind of is a character that lends himself to like dark stories,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I mean, I've always had respect for Daredevil. I've never been a huge, gigantic Daredevil fan, but he's a great character.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say that about a lot of characters. There's a lot of characters like that I like in a way, but I've never been a huge fan of. And Daredevil falls into that category. I can see them wanting to make him have darker stories, and especially with like the way the Netflix show was really
tying
dark.
things
I
in,
can-
or not
I can-
tying
I can
things
see
in, but
them being like,
little specks of the
Yeah.
show. Which is
so I
totally
can definitely
fine.
see them wanting to make it darker.
I finally read Jessica Jones, but I think I need to go back and read the Alias series first, because it's been a while. But there's a
Okay.
lot of stuff. But from what I read, it was cool.
That brings us to the next book, which is one of yours that I actually did read,
Cool.
which was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be interested to hear your thoughts after, because you haven't read much of Ed Brubaker. You're not like a crime noir. You don't read too much of that stuff, do you?
No, but I do know a lot about the different history, different aspects of comics through history. I do know that at one point, crime noir and horror comics were like bigger than superhero comics. I know that this has always had a role in the comic book industry.
Mhm.
I've just never actually experienced it firsthand.
Okay.
So this is totally new. This is definitely something that's kind of out of my comfort zone, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll talk about it after you get done. I'll let you go ahead
for sure.
and get into this.
So
Kill or
this
be
is
killed.
Yep. So this is Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, and Ed Brubaker's a writer. Sean Phillips does the pencils, and Elizabeth Brettweiser does the colors. And this is their new series together called Kill or Be Killed. If you haven't read the first two issues yet, essentially we are meeting a vigilante who goes by the name Dylan, and he's having a hard time, and pretty much decides to jump off a roof and commit suicide. But as he commits suicide, he doesn't die. He is actually awoken by possibly a demon. It's still questionable, if that demon is real or not. We haven't, we haven't found out more about him yet. But the demon tells him that for your dumb mistake and saving your life, you're gonna have to kill for me in order to stay alive at this point. So the first two issues I've been kind of building him up to get the courage, one, and two, really figure out who his first kill is going to be. And in the second issue, we finally find out he kills a childhood friend's brother, because previously in the issue 2, he remembers like a really, really fucked up story that his friend told him about pretty much how his older brother used to molest him. And that story always stuck with Dylan for a long time, and as he's like trying to figure out who he's gonna have to kill, it comes back. And so he does some research into the guy first before like actually killing him, and he meets him. He like goes to the job that he works at, which is a bar, and kind of looks into it, and essentially ends up killing him by the end of the second issue. And so now that we're at issue 3, he's waking up from that. Oh, actually, I should back it up real quick. His roommate, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name right now. They have like a weird living situation together. Kira is her name. They have a weird living situation. She lives with her boyfriend there as well. But Kira, kind of like flirts with Dylan a lot, but still has her boyfriend on the side. And because another reason why he killed himself is because he had a crush on her for the longest time, and she pretty much put him in friend zone. Excuse me, put him in friend zone, and then did the whole thing with, teasing with him, and her having a boyfriend. So moving back forward to issue 3, he wakes up and he's thinking about it, and also throughout the story, he narrates the future, or he's narrating the past and the future. So it's going to be interesting to where the story ends, what story he's telling by the end of it. So that's an interesting aspect. But he wakes up and he's talking to Kira, and she's asking him, you look tired, or what happened last night after you carried me to bed, because she was drunk the night previously, and again tried to like come on to him, and he was like, no, I'm just gonna put you to bed. So he's on the computer and he's looking up to see if there's any news on the death of Teddy, who's the guy that he killed, and it does pop up on the news that the killing happened. Excuse me, and that there were no witnesses yet in the shooting. So he's going on with his day, and decides to spend some time with Kira to try to get the killing off of his mind. But before they end up hanging out, he's going throughout his day, going to class, doing his thing. But again, he can't stop thinking about the killing and if this demon is actually real or not, and what really happened, that night that he attempted suicide. So he he continues to keep, checking in on any media reports about the murder, and it comes out that after everything happened, that Teddy was also linked to a child molest ring operation. So now Dylan feels like, I did kill this person for the right reason, because he did do really horrible things. So he's walking down the street, and this dream sequence, I would call it a dream sequence, happens, and the demon appears, and he is kind of teasing with him. He's like, you are now a killer, you cannot go back. And he was like, but I don't want this. And he's like, well, at this point you're lying, kid. And in the dream sequence, like the panel, he walks up to the window, and if you've seen the first issue, he's actually wearing the same red face mask that he is going to be wearing moving forward. At some point, he's going to get that mask, and I definitely recommend reading the first issue, because like it opens up with him in the future, and he's just like blasting like dudes with shotguns. It's like it's pretty. He's like a super badass vigilante. Well, he's gonna get there at some point. But he's awoken out of that dream, and now he goes out with Kira to it's winter time, I should mention too, and they go out to a Ferris wheel park, and they're just chit chatting, and we're learning about Kira's backstory, and pretty much how she's had a really messed up life. Her mom had at least like 5 husbands. She would unfortunately have to sit there as they would have orgies, and she kept going through each phase of all the fucked up shit with all of her mom's husbands. So that's kind of explains why she treats Dylan the way she does with having her boyfriend at the same time, because her past is just like that messed up. So this is definitely a dark story for people that like darker stuff. Not Daredevil though, that's different. But Ed Brubaker's Daredevil was amazing. But yeah, so they go to a shooting range, and he gives like a perfect shot on the excuse me, on the target, and she's like questioning him like, hey, how did you get so good at this? And he's like, yeah, I shot guns when I was younger, blah blah blah. And then they're ending their date pretty much in the back of an Uber, making out. So she's again playing with him, and they get back to the apartment, and her boyfriend's home, and he's been waiting for her. So those two go off, and she gives him a look, and he goes into his room, lays on the bed, and at this point it seems to be he's looking to see how many people are his next kill, pretty much, because he's looking at like a blog of people that have done bad things around the town. So now I think at this point he is going to be we're going to start seeing him become the vigilante, and we'll learn more about this demon who's hunting him. But the next number 4 cover in the back is really dope. He's like holding Kira, and he's all bloody, and his face is like super fucked up. So I'm interested to see where this goes. But yeah, what did you think? Your first Ed Brubaker crime noir book.
All right. Well, as somebody who does not normally, like I said, read any of these kind of books, as far as crime noir, I actually did go back. I didn't get to finish reading, but I read most of the first issue.
Cool.
I am actually interested in this. It's an interesting tale, especially because since this issue was the first one I read all of to completion, it was interesting. I was trying to figure out, like, is that demon real? Is he hallucinating it? Is it like an alternate personality he has? Because the way they played in this issue especially, it doesn't really give you a concrete answer as to what it is. It kind of, they managed to make it seem like it could be any of those things.
Yeah.
Like it could be, part of his psyche that's, appears to be a demon in him, or it could be an actual demon. I did find it interesting a little bit about the relationship between him and her boyfriend and their whole. Because, like I said, I didn't read all of the first 2 issues, so seeing him and her together in the beginning, I'm kind of like, okay, that's his girlfriend, and then she's like, my boyfriend. And he's like, don't call me. I'm like, okay, so is she cheating?
Yeah.
And then it got a little bit further in the comment. I'm like, oh, this is really a messed up relationship.
Yes.
And it's messed up because the way they did her as a character, she seems like a nice character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she doesn't seem like the kind that would be putting him in that kind of situation.
No.
And even towards the end, it kind of seems like she actually does like him. I'm not sure. How long has he known her?
It's been a while. Like, I'm pretty sure they're childhood friends, but I know that they've known each other for a long time.
Okay, that's how that kind of comes off. It kind of comes off like the classic, like we were childhood friends, he always had a crush on her. She kind of liked him a little bit, but he never made the move. So now she's with somebody. That's how it kind of comes off. It has that vibe, like where she's like, I do want to be with you. I wish, you'd have had the guts a lot sooner to say something. I wish I would have had the guts a lot sooner to say something. And now he's in the picture, and I don't really want to, he's a good guy. That's kind of how it seems. It's kind of like that classic, almost TV drama love triangle going on. I hate to say TV drama, but it's kind of like that with the way the relationship is. I also did find it interesting at the end where you just mentioned how after she makes that face, because that's what her face says. Her face says like,
I'm sorry,
she would rather be with him.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I would rather be with you. And I did find it interesting. He immediately goes in the room and pulls out the laptop and is looking at like man knocks down 82-year-old woman and steals 4K necklace, and he's looking at these stories, and it's obvious he's compiling, if not a hit list, or he's at least compiling a
he's
list
trying to
of
plot,
the next person
plot his
after.
kills. Yep. So now I think, moving forward, I think the issue's gonna really pick up, and we'll see if either Kira or even her boyfriend dies at some point.
Well, that's what I was wondering too. The way that they're doing it is like she might end up being a victim by accident, or who knows, maybe by purpose. Maybe all that stuff from her childhood really didn't mess her up to the point where she's gonna do him extremely dirty, and she's gonna be a victim. Or maybe he's gonna take the boyfriend out so that he's not, in the picture. He has no competition now.
Or like find something on the boyfriend that's like really bad.
Maybe one of those blogs that he was reading about is something the boyfriend's involved in. Like,
true.
Who knows? He said he was out of town on business. What was he really doing?
Yeah, it was really cool too. During like the dream sequence, he's able like to see inside people and their secrets.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
You can now see people for who they really are.
Mm-hmm.
Which I did find interesting, and part of me was like, well, is that an actual dream sequence or
real? Yeah, or
real? Because the way they described it is like, is that what he's really seeing now? And this is just where they're going to show us what he's truly seeing, which begs the question: if that is what he's really seeing, what is he seeing when he looks at her?
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how they play this out. This is, I believe, like at least the third collaboration all of these three have done, and Sean Phillips and Elizabeth, like the art alone, like their combination together is so good. Like when he's on the subway, it feels like throughout this whole story, you feel like this is taking place in New York. You feel like you're like in New York. I have never been to New York, but I'm sure for someone who has, like, this definitely like looks like and feels like New York to them. Yeah,
the art looks kind of like what I would expect probably a local New York artist to do. Like not someone who's necessarily on the level of doing art for Marvel or anything like that, but someone who's got skill, but they're just like an underground type art. Like it seems like it's got an underground feel to it. It's gritty. It's not polished. Like the colors and stuff are like, they're not bright poppy colors. Like they're dark. Even the colors that are supposed to be bright still manage to be like dark and gritty.
Tamed, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I'm looking at the flashback where he remembers shooting. And he's actually looks like he's picturing himself shooting himself.
Yeah, it looks like he might be waking up at that point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the way that dream sequence is done, it's like it kind of reminds me of like how they did it in like 90s movies where they like warp the screen and like kind of do it side to side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is something I was going to say. I was going to say, just reading what little I've read of this series so far, I would actually think that could make a pretty good like mini-series or a little movie.
Yes. He's actually...
I think I...
No, go ahead.
What you going to say?
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so far, I would like to see this adapted into something. Just off of what I've seen so far, I think this, even if it was like a Spawn type animated adaptation of the comic, where it was like an adult type adaptation, I think that this would be good with some kind of other media other than just being a comic book. Like, this is really good so far.
Yeah, I know. It was just announced recently. His one of his books, Incognito, is going to be in production. I haven't read that one. I haven't got around to reading that one yet. So I'm glad to see that he's finally getting something on screen. But I would love to see, once this is done, I could easily see this being made into either animation or movie, like live action.
Well, I think honestly, live action would be great, but I do think that, since I just said that, I think animation would lend itself way better.
Yes,
to this. And
yeah.
Like the
colors.
It would be like the Spawn. It'd be like the Spawn and everything, because the colors, and then you can do more with the dream sequences and everything, and make them even more trippier, and like just do it like the HBO Spawn cartoon they had, however many years back.
That'd be cool.
You know, but I think that'd be pretty good. I'm definitely interested to see where this goes. I think I am going to pick this up and follow this a little bit more. At the same time, I kind of hope that this is going to be. You know how many issues this is supposed to be?
Ooh, usually they go on. I want to say like 10 or 12.
Okay, so like a season over.
Yeah.
10. Okay, that's good. I was gonna say this needs to be something that doesn't drag on too long. I think dragging this on, for me, I would say past 12 or 13, I think would be too much for this.
Yeah, they usually wrap it up within at least 10 or 12.
Yeah, I think they can tell the whole story with this, but it's good. I really, really, really like this.
Yeah, this is their like first actual vigilante book, because like a lot of prior stuff has been kind of like pulpy 50s, 60s, like mafia kind of stuff. But,
well, that's kind of what even now I think about it, that's what the artwork kind of reminds me of. It kind of reminds me of the covers of the old pulp magazines, and that's what the cover of the book looks like. It's like an old Pulp Fiction type magazine. But definitely the artwork too. Like, yeah, that there we go. That's what the artwork reminds me of. It reminds me of pulp artwork.
Yeah,
which they probably did purposely.
Oh yeah. That's how a lot of, like when they this collaboration is together. That's like definitely their feel. But Ed Brubaker's actually. Have you watched or know of the show Westworld?
I know that they have is it already out?
Yeah, they're like 2 episodes in. The new one airs tonight. Actually, I finally caught up with the second one. But Ed Brubaker's like a senior or supervisor producer on there.
What's funny is I have not seen it yet. I do know of it, but I've seen the original Westworld.
I have not seen the original one. I need to go back and watch that.
I saw the original one. I think we had to watch it, and I don't remember what for, but one of my classes, like in I think middle school, we watched Westworld.
Okay. Yeah, really from what I've seen so far, it's different, and I'm still slightly confused, but it's like it's making sense. It's a weird show, but I'm digging it. I look forward to see what they do with it. The movie
was weird.
Yeah, that's what everyone says.
The Westworld movie was weird, especially when it came out at that time period that it came out, and that was a weird concept. Especially,
like
and that's weird
movie?
in itself.
60s, 70s,
like the
movie?
70s.
Yeah.
Which is why it's weird that it was weird then.
Yeah.
Like, it was weird then, so that tells you a lot.
But I'm glad you enjoyed this, though. Hopefully it's a good not jumping on point, but hopefully you pick it up, continue to see what happens, see where it goes.
Well, I'm definitely, like I said, I'm definitely gonna follow this. I'm gonna definitely go back and actually get this. Like, I think I'm gonna follow this probably to the completion. I'm probably gonna read this whole series.
So, yeah, I think this is like really the only Image book I'm reading right now.
That was the other thing, is like I looked down because I didn't even pay attention to who published it, and I was thinking like, oh, it's probably like, who knows, it's probably
Dark Horse, one of those,
Dark Horse, something like that. And I literally, as you were talking about this, and I just happened to look down to like, oh, it's an Image book, go figure. Yeah, makes kind of sense.
Image, Image has a deal with Ed Brubaker. Pretty much, he can do whatever he wants. Like, he has free range, like. After, because he quit, I don't know if you knew this, but he quit doing, like, he gave up on doing like superhero comics after Daredevil, I believe, and he just wanted to go a different route, and this was the route that he took. But I'm glad he still loves superheroes, but he was just like, I want to do something else. He left Marvel, and then Image was like, we'll let you do whatever you want. So he has free range for however long, I'm sure.
Creative control.
Yeah, creative
control
exactly.
always tops it.
That could be another reason too why he was like, because Marvel definitely wouldn't. I don't think Marvel would put something out like this.
Oh no,
this is a little too dark for them.
No, you know what? They may have possibly put it out as I was reading through it.
Maybe like a Max series.
But once they got to the point where he was talking about her discussing her childhood, I was like, nope.
Disney.
Like, nope.
Disney.
That came out of nowhere too. Like, I'm reading the thing, and it's snowing, and I turn the page and I'm like, oh my goodness, there's bodies everywhere.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit in Edward Baker's books.
Well, I did not know that. B, I didn't realize it was an Image book. I probably would have been a little less surprised knowing that, And then C, it just came out of nowhere. It just came out of nowhere.
I should mention too I haven't read any of the backup stories that are in the back by Devin Faraci. But I know the first one he talked about in the first issue. He talked about what is that old movie? I wish I could remember it off the top of my head right now. But he just talks about. I haven't read much of them, but I think he just like goes into depth about like some old movies and some old pulp stuff. So I'll have to catch up on those. And I still haven't finished Fade Out. Read most of Criminal. But yeah, after reading his Daredevil, I continued to like see what he was doing after that. And that's kind of how I got into, because his Daredevil writing was great, so that's kind of how I got into him. He did some Captain America stuff too, that I read a little bit of.
See, I don't normally follow too many writers like that. No offense or anything to any writers or creators.
No.
I just don't normally, partially because I'm normally bouncing between so many different stories and everything. I kind of don't always have the time to remember who wrote what. But a good story is a good story.
Exactly, no doubt about that. There's so much going on.
Yeah, Ed Brubaker, I'm definitely a fan of at least Kill or Be Killed, but that always opens the door to at least read or try something else based off of this, because just this one issue alone has me like, I need to finish this.
There's so many questions.
There's so many questions.
So many theories.
So many possibilities.
Yes. Is there anything else you have for that book before we get on to the novel?
Oh yes, the novel. Oh my goodness, the novel is exactly what this was.
My fault for choosing this.
you know what? I was I at the store when I got the finalized list for this week? I think I was actually in the comic store and I got the finalized list. I can't remember, but I remember looking at the list and seeing this title at the end of the list. And was like, I don't even know what this is. I know what it sounds like, and it was pretty much almost what it sounded like.
Yeah.
And I went hunting around the store for this book, and then it turned out I found it, and the one that I got was actually the last copy.
Oh, really?
Now, I don't know if that's because they only ordered a handful, giving what book it was, or if because there was actually that many people coming in and get this book. But for those who don't know and haven't read, I'm not sure if this is on the description or not, but the next and final book we were going to be talking about for this week is going to be Duck Avenger #1 from, surprisingly enough, IDW, who I think we were just talking about a week or so ago.
Yep, and
seems to have their hands
collaborating with Disney.
With Disney and any other intellectual property they can get their hands on, from Back to the Future to Godzilla to whatever else, to Evil Dead, Big Trouble, Little Chinatown, This was very interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, it's just a
I,
quick fact before we get into the novel of this book. I actually did a little bit of research because at the
okay.
on not the first page. Well, I guess technically the first page. It says
It's
that
the
it
first
was
page.
adapted from Italian. The company was from Italian paper and ink. I think that's how you pronounce it. But the first USA publication was in 1996. So I did a little bit of research, and so the Paper and Ink New Adventures was the first attempt of Disney Italian publishers to tell more action animated or action oriented stories. So this is kind of, I believe it's pretty much a rehash, but the series in the past, the series continues from the previous Duck Avenger stories, yet they use mostly new characters, a part of the Duck Avenger himself, and brief appearances from Scrooge McDuck, old school
Yes.
Scroogey. When
Old
Uncle
school
Scrooge
Scroogey.
buys the Duck Lair Tower, Donald finds there's one more floor than there's supposed to be, and he investigates the secret floor and meets Uno, but in the USA it goes by One, which is the building's artificial intelligence, who becomes his new ally and provides him with inventions of disappeared Everett Duck Lair to fight villains such as Ivan Nance, I don't know how you pronounce that, and also who we meet in this book, the Time Traveler. In the Italian publication, he goes by Raider, but in this storyline, he is Red Raider,
Red Raider.
among other villains at this point. So that's just a little history. So after reading that, I was like, okay, this is
Okay.
republishing of an old story, which is 72
Well,
pages.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. So I know some people are probably like, why do they keep saying this novel? They're doing a graphic novel this week? No, this is not graphic novel week. This week, this Duck Avenger #1 is 72 pages, which I did not realize until I picked it up.
Me
and was like, why is
either.
this book so heavy? I was like, why is this book $6?
Right.
And then I looked a little closer and it said 72 pages, and I said, good Lord, this is a giant issue. I haven't
Yeah.
seen a giant size issue in a while.
A long time. It's like
What's funny? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's like reading a giant, astonishing X-Men book. How like
Oh yeah, that's exactly where my head went when I saw it say 72 pages. I was like, oh man, this is one of the giant X-Men books. Funny enough, I didn't know the history of the character, and one of us did some research on that. Because it was hard enough to get through the book because of the length. It would have been even harder to sit and do research for this book.
Yes.
But the funny thing is, I've actually seen the character before. I didn't know he was called Duck Avenger, but
Me
I've
either.
seen him before. So when I saw the cover, I was like, "Oh, I've seen him before. That's the Duck Avenger." And I was kind of like, "Looks like Donald. I mean Donald with I guess Batman type outfit on." This is a very interesting issue, though.
Yes.
I don't know how you want to tackle this. I personally think this issue was maybe a tad bit longer than it needed to be.
Yes.
Tell the story that it
especially. We'll get to that middle, like pretty much like halfway through the book. Well, I was like, "Are you serious?" Like, I understand why they did it.
Exactly what you're talking about.
I understand why they did it for the story. I was just like, really?
For the story they did it. But when you're reading it and you know it's 72 pages and you get to that point, I came close to just closing the book.
Yes.
Buying it away and going like, you know what, folks, I tried to do this book this week, but I'm sorry I couldn't put myself through it when I got halfway through the book.
So sorry in advance if we tackle this one weird, because we were not expecting
this is going to be, that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure how you want to go about tackling this one.
We'll bounce off. We can bounce off each other for the most part. So the title,
all right.
it's kind of confusing. So it's The Wind Blow of Time. So like again, I believe this is just an adaptation of the previous publishing. So they're retelling the story, but just a little differently, I assume, because I haven't read the first one. But he wakes up from a dream, and he's awoken up by his uncle Scrooge.
Scroogey McDuck.
Yep. And he's telling him that, he wake up and come tomorrow, we have prospective tenants who want to tour the Duck Lair Tower. And at this point in the timeline, Duck Avenger is the caretaker of the tower. So he's getting up, waking up. There we meet Uno, or One, which is his artificial friend. And
let me stop you for a minute.
Yeah, please.
I know that the AI's name in the book is One, but now that you told me his original name was Uno, can we just call him Uno?
Yeah,
I think that's a better name than One. Like, Uno just sounds better.
Same here. I was like, what? That's another thing I thought too. I was like, why didn't they just keep Uno?
So from this point on, we're going to refer to him as Uno.
Yes.
All right, let's continue now.
All right. So yeah, he's waking up talking to Uno, and he's asking to make him pancakes because pretty much this AI can do just about anything. But he tells him before making pancakes that he's been patrolling the surveillance cameras and banks throughout just pretty much about through everything, every camera in the city. He's been surveillancing, and he picks up. We see a rooster flying, and so I guess the rooster is making his way to a packing plant, and it comes to find out that nothing was damaged or stolen from the crime scene. But so we move forward from there, and later that night, he's out and about flying in his car. I was a little confused about that. I didn't see any propellers or anything. But he gets a call.
Hey, it's a flying car.
Yeah, it's a flying car. Wonder Woman can have her invincible ride. So yeah, at this point, he's out and about throughout the night, and he gets a call from Uno, and he's like, "Hey, we've spotted the bandit again, and he's at another box factory, and which is Boxy Brown Storage Depot."
Yes, I was going to stop you and comment on the fact that it's called Boxy Brown.
Foxy_Brown, or Boxy_Foxy Browns. So yeah, he arrives, and the door's wide open, and he finds it weird that the alarm hasn't been tripped. So he goes in there. He meets the Red Raider for the first time, and they're talking, having it out, and Duck Avenger pulls out his little gadget gun, one of his gadget guns, I should say. But the Red Raider is able to press a button and appear behind him. But Duck Avenger thinks it's like his twin or something, and he gets knocked out. And he is awoken by another alarm this time, but this is not a phone alarm. It's the alarm of the box plant. So he jets out of there, makes his way home, and then on the next day, Angus Fangus has footage of Duck Avenger running out of the plant. So he's like making the story that the Duck Avenger, is actually not who he says, or not who he says he is. He's actually a bad person, and he's not a hero. Which, so stop thinking he's a hero, pretty much. But Angus pretty much has it out for him, and he's Duck Avenger's bummed out at that point. And so later, luckily, tells him that there was a second camera outside of Boxy Brown's, and we find out that Red Raider he flies, but not only does he fly, but he evaporates into thin air. So Duck Avenger not really flips out, but he's like, "Oh boy," kind of thing. Very old. This is just reminds me of something that would have been written. I mean, obviously this is a kid's book.
Yes.
But it's just written as an old school comic. So it has those quirky little moments.
I was noticing that a lot through the book.
And that next day, Angus and his news reporter, Lila, and a couple other guys go to look at the duck tower. And Angus is kind of being a dick the whole time and being a snob about the whole building. And
he's essentially J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, essentially.
That's essentially who he is. Minus the cigar and the mustache.
Yes. Unless there's a mustache under all that fur.
Even though the tip of his beak is kind of colored in a way where it could be a mustache. It is J. Jonah.
There's like a DC hint too towards the end of this book. But at the same time, well, yeah, I mean, because Crisis came out. Well, we'll get there later. But yeah, as Angus is giving Donald Duck a hard time, Lila is kind of stepping in and saying how, you know, this is actually, I think this is a nice place. And then we find there's an editor's note that, I guess in the last issue, which I'm assuming is when it was published in 1996.
More than likely. Yeah,
more than likely that's where Lila and the Duck Avenger first met. So yeah, they make their way out, or before they make their way out, they're talking about how, you know, who would take time to like go out and steal boxes, and Lila hints that she was like, if I was going to be a crime, not crime fighter, but if I was going to commit a crime, I would steal that new sample of tetrajonium. Even Duck Avenger's like, Tetra, what? And we find out that it's a synthetic fiber developed out of Duckburg Experimental Labs, and the only sample created is at the DEL Research Center. And as they're making their way out, yeah, only one.
I didn't. No, how did he catch that? The DEL Research symbol is Dale.
Dale, yeah.
Dale made this.
That's funny. And then, before they take off, Lila and Duck Avenger are talking, and she kind of like hints at him that, you know, if she was the Duck Avenger, she would go to the Dell Research Center, and that's probably going to be Red Raider's next stop. And he's kind of freaking out. It's like, she has to know that I'm the Duck Avenger, just the way that she said that. And so later that day, the Red Raider attacks a armored truck to steal pure diamonds, just pure diamonds, and it'll all add up by the end. Why he is stealing these certain items. So he makes out from the armored truck, and then stops at a hardware store to steal. Not even to steal, but he acts like he's going to purchase.
No, he stole it. He did steal it.
Yeah, well, he stole it. But he acts like he wants to purchase it, and just like runs out of the store immediately.
He gets like copper wires and some pliers and...
Yeah, it was copper wire, a pair of insulated pliers, and a few trinkets. So yeah, he runs out, and meanwhile, Uno thinks there's something off about Lila, because he scanned everyone that entered the tower, but he finds out that she's shielded against XYZ rays,
which is hilarious.
Yeah. And XYZ, and no other scan can be done on her. So they're wondering what she possibly could be. And then there we see that next panel, or one of the panels, she is in a dark room, and her eyes are pretty much, she's retinal scanning the measurement of Duck Avenger's face, and comes to a conclusion that Donald Duck, and then comes to the conclusion that he has to be the Duck Avenger based on the measures of his face. Which I don't know why they can't do that for Batman or Superman.
You know what's funny? It's a shame that a Donald Duck comic book makes you wonder that. because I was reading, I'm like, you kind of think someone would have done that with Batman or Superman, especially Superman. Like, you think someone would have done that with Superman? Or,
Yeah.
They kind of come close to it with Batman, and someone's always like, that chin looks familiar.
Kind of in the news story right now, he might be getting an All-Star Batman. He might be getting busted, but I'll talk about that later. But yeah, so at this point, he heads off to the Dell Center, and they have a plan to set up special sensors that will go off when the Red Raider arrives. So they don't wait too long before he does arrive, and they go at it once again, and Red Raider's like firing these green flames at him, and the dialogue when he blocks it with his gadget, he's like, "Holy hunk, he's serious, Batman." He didn't say Batman, but that's how I read it. But again, we have to keep in mind
he picked up the box and he's
we have to keep in mind
Red Raider picked up that box and he's like, "Up top, meathead, so you're into weightlifting." It's like, really?
Yeah, he even drops a Sweet Christmas at one point. I don't know if we skipped that.
Yeah, he did do a Sweet Christmas.
But yeah, he's like, luckily...
Oh, man, they just took stuff from everywhere.
Yeah, he's like, luckily I have my X-Transformer shield. And at Transformers, maybe? Who knows? Or he would have been into roast duck. So, Red Raider attempts to, throw this big, block device at him. But then he's like, luckily I have my heavy, or my gravity beaking hobgoblin, or whatever he says, to like keep him down and keep him down on the ground. But it doesn't keep him down for long. And Red Raider's not able to make off with the Tetra, because pretty much Duck Avenger prevents him from doing that. And this is where...
Hold on. Can I please take this?
Well, please take it from here.
I'm going to step in for this ridiculousness, and I'm going to take it from here. So, as he said, Red Raider does not get the Tetra, and he does manage to actually escape the facility, and he flies off like he did before. He disappears, and so obviously Duck Avenger is kind of like, he's upset about this, but Uno's like, don't worry, I got scans of him before he left this time. And before we get to find out anything about these scans, we see the Duck Avenger floating through what looks like a rainbow tunnel.
Red Raider. That's Red Raider. Red Raider, you mean?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Red Raider. I'm sorry. And then this ridiculous line pops up where it says, "Warning, everything you just read on the last 7 pages is now completely meaningless. Let's go back a few hours to show you what we mean." That one line had me ready to close the book.
Why did they not just start the story from here? Because it would have worked.
It honestly is.
Yeah, it would have worked.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it would have worked if they just would have started from where they are about to start it, and I'll let you do your thing.
Yeah, this is the thing, is this comes about halfway, maybe a little bit.
I want to say, halfway.
72-page book.
It feels like it.
This is a 72-page book, and you've just read a ton of story. But anyway, what ends up happening is we see this mysterious figure who was actually watching the newscast earlier, where where Duck Avenger was painted out to be a criminal. And this figure walks up to Angus Fangus, which is a ridiculous name still. Yes. Kind of funny, but ridiculous. And he's trying to talk to him, and Angus, being the ally person he is, doesn't really want to hear it. And he's telling him that he has some information that he might be interested in. And the information he tells him, he asks him if he would be interested in catching the Duck Avenger essentially with his hands in a cookie jar. So now we fast forward to a little bit before the earlier scene with Red Raider when Duck Avenger is actually setting the sensors up, and he's in the process of setting these sensors up, and he's almost got them set up, and then all of a sudden, the door opens up, and you hear surprise, and it's Angus Fangus with the police and a news camera talking about how they've caught him red-handed. Luckily, his X-Transformer shield also can transform into like a rocket pack and allows Duck Avenger to fall. But of course, this is used as a news story to try to paint the Duck Avenger out to be a criminal. Now, what ends up happening is he's actually warned on his way back to the tower by Uno not to come to the tower because he's essentially he finds out a little bit later he's being followed by the police. And what ends up happening is Uno actually picks him up in what is it's like a trash ship that he has that flies around. I guess delivers the trash to the trash dump.
Yeah.
I guess this would be one of those times where reading the previous issues would probably help make a lot of sense out of some of this.
Yes.
But what he tells him is he tells him that he was able to after he had been after he left the scene, that he was able to monitor the scene a little bit later, and the Red Raider actually came back, stole what he was looking for, and then disappeared again. And he told him when he disappeared, though, he was actually able to get a scan, and it turns out that I want to get it right exactly what he said he was putting off.
Oh, the tachyon. Yeah,
he was putting off tachyon particles, and obviously Avenger Duck doesn't know what that is, and he tells him like theoretically being able to produce this energy tachyon will actually allow people to travel through time. And so then Avenger Duck is like, oh, so he's a time traveler. So that's how he's been doing this, is he can manipulate time. So what he decides to do is he thinks he knows someone who can help. And this person obviously is Layla, because Layla seems to know a little bit more about things than he knows. He actually goes to meet her, and he ends up running into her on the way into the news building. And they end up having a little conversation, and she kind of lets it slip that she knows he's Duck Avenger. So he takes her back to his place. They have a little bit more deeper conversation, and she explains that what Red Raider is trying to do, he's an illegal time traveler, is that in the future people are able to time travel, and it's done for scientific purposes. They go back in time, they can actually see specific events and everything, and they're only supposed to watch and never be involved in them. And what he does is he goes back in time, and he actually steals items from different time periods. And what he's trying to do now is he's trying to actually come back to this time, and he wants to knock Earth out of its position in space-time into another position where he can actually create an alternate reality.
/ Infinite Crisis on Earth.
/ Infinite Crisis, yes. Yes. He wants to basically Infinite Crisis. He wants Duck Avenger's Earth to take the place of another Earth in a timeline that he wants to create. And she's like, obviously, that's highly illegal. And what happens is, in the future, they have time police.
Rip Hunter.
And the time police, I know, so much. I wonder what they were watching and reading when they wrote this story. But the time police job is to obviously come back and force any kind of crimes against time. And and they use an example of them being there to like the Trojan War. And I'm going to guess that that's supposed to be some kind of medieval, and also looks like
Roman times.
And then something looks like it could possibly be like World War II, maybe. That dude in the front looks kind of like a German soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this point, he kind of figures that she has to be part of this these time police, and she's trying to let him know exactly the device he's putting together causes what's called a time. It's essentially a time tornado or a time NATO, which is hilarious in this day and age that they had that in a comic book. But she tells him that the only place he can do this is at the most secure place in Duckburg, which happens to be a vault, which I figured it was going to be. And I was sure it was going to be Scrooge's vault.
Yep.
I was positive that it was going to be Scrooge McDuck's vault, and it turned out not to be his vault. So they have the idea to go in there. They know what room he's going to be in. So Duck Avenger is supposed to go in there, keep Red Raider occupied, and then she'll call the Time Police. And so he's like, well, why can't you call them now? And she's like, well, he'll sense the tachyon energy, and then he'll flee, and we won't be able to catch him. So Red Raider shows up, and Duck Avenger starts fighting him, and then they make a comment about Layla, and he asks about Layla, and he says, well, I knocked her out. She's not going to be helping you. And then, Duck Avenger has the box that contains the device in it, and then Red Raider gets it back, and then he's like, well, you're too late, Duck Avenger, and he goes to use the box, he opens it up, and the box is empty. And it turned out that Duck Avenger's secret weapon was based off of Layla's description. He crafted a perfect duplicate of the box that he was going to have the device in, and he essentially switched the boxes and then crushed the device.
Yeah.
Red Raider is furious, and he thinks he's about to actually destroy Duck Avenger for this, and all of a sudden the Time Police come in, and that doesn't make any sense to Red Raider because he knocked Layla out. They shouldn't have been able to call the Time Police, and so he's like, well, you know what? I'm getting out of here, and I will see you saps in the 23rd century. And he tries to fly off, and he can't fly. And it turns out that Layla tells him that the center of the spatial time rift, the time tornado, is right in that room.
Time-nado. Time-nado, I
Time
should say.
NATO. I'm sorry. The Time NATO.
Sharknado.
The Time NATO is in the center of that room, and it zaps anything that has the tachyon energy. And all his stuff is based off of tachyon energy. So everything he has is powerless. So the Time Police are able to arrest him. He asked Layla, how is it that you're still up? He said he knocked you out, and she goes to tell him, and then it skips to Duck Avenger sitting in the middle of the vault, and then Angus coming in with his cameraman saying, I caught you, and Duck Avenger was like, well, no, you actually didn't catch me. I'm actually at home. I've been at home for like the last 5 minutes. And then the alarm goes off, and flashbacks, and then you see Angus being arrested, and then it flashback to Duck Avenger's hideout, and it turns out that he had Layla and the Time Police give him a ride home. He had Uno connect the computer system at their base with the security cameras and stuff at the vault in order to project that image. And it's kind of messed up, but he did all of this in order to not just save his name a little bit, but to also keep Angus off his back for a little while.
Now Angus is probably going to jail for a while.
He's probably going to jail. He's got to come up with an alibi and everything. He's facing charges, but it's okay because Duck Avenger's identity and his reputation is safe. And so then Duck Avenger actually goes on to tell Uno what I was wondering at this point in time, which was how in the world did Layla not get knocked out? How was she able to take that blow and still be okay? And he goes on to tell him that with the stress of time travel, what the people of the future have done is they actually constructed lifelike androids that they actually send back through time. So all the Time Police are basic androids, and they send them to different points. They send certain ones to different points in time, and their job is to blend in and meld in with society and essentially be sleeper agents there. And then if something arises, they can contact the Time Police. So they went ahead and took Red Raider to the future so he can go to prison, and Layla is still in Duck Avenger's time period. And hearing this, Uno was like, well, I did kind of think she was cute. And he starts asking, I think her number's in the database.
I thought that was funny. I thought that was funny.
That part was funny. And so did Donald. Donald found that very, very funny. That was the end of Duck Avenger #1. They do have a #2 coming out next month.
Yep.
What were your opinions on Duck Avenger?
It was they could have took a few things from the first half of the book and put it in the second half. But again, since this came out originally in '96, and it was like the first imprint for them to try and do something. This is probably like their big first one all out one shot. So
I sure did. I just because it actually does tell you in the beginning that this is the story from '96. So yeah, your research is correct. This is from Italian Paper Inc. New Adventures. It came out in February of '96. Looks like.
Yeah. I got that confused too. I think it's just I don't think they said when it actually came out, but it just says '96. But the second.
Well, it says 296.
Okay.
Unless okay, I know, I see what it is. It's Paper Inc. New Adventures 2. So this was number 2, and that came out in '96. And since we had issues with the title is actually called "Wind Blows the Winds of Time." But that's how the title's actually supposed to be read, even though I think you did read it that way.
Hopefully.
I don't know.
So now I'm
go
wondering.
ahead.
Now I'm wondering if this is where they start a new story for the Duck Avenger. I'm assuming.
I have no idea.
I don't plan on finding out, but
yeah, it was this wasn't terrible. Honestly.
It wasn't terrible.
It did have that feel of like a throwback comic. Like I didn't even pay to that in the front of the book, and I told you after I read it, I did no research on this. But what you said about when it came out, that makes sense because it does have the feel of like a '90s comic almost, and there's so many areas in it where you can see. Because I didn't know they had an Italian studio do this. I just saw the Disney on the front and Disney Comics, and so I was attributed it strictly 100% to Disney. But you could see where they took so much stuff from both Marvel and DC and try to slap them in here. There was definitely some funny parts in it. I will say that there was some parts in this book were really funny. I don't know. I think a younger kid would like this book.
Yeah, and again, this is because it is in the kids section of the store.
My comic store, was it?
Oh, it wasn't. Okay, no, when I went to Laughing Ogre, because that's where I went to the new rack first. And I was like, oh, I don't see it, and I asked him. He was like, oh, it's in the it's gonna be in the kids section. So, this is definitely for young readers. Probably to get them jump on point for Duck Avenger. But it's funny because
now, I was just gonna say by young readers, I think I think this is probably more like 11 or 12, maybe possibly 13. Like I don't think little kids getting in comics wouldn't like this because it's too much reading for them.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Because this is essentially like a chapter book almost. There aren't chapters, but this is essentially like a chapter book. I mean, 72 pages. It's a lot of pages.
And around the time too that this came out, I want to say, because I was watching Darkwing Duck when I was younger, and I want to say around this time that was airing, because I think I saw that their IDW is doing a what I just lost it.
There's Darkwing Duck. Yeah, I think it came back in the comics. They already had a thing. I was at I think the Wizard World. The one of the creators of Darkwing Duck was actually up there.
Okay,
I meant to go talk to him and get him to sign something and actually get the trade for it, but I didn't, unfortunately. I do think it was funny. This might be because Darkwing Duck came on a year or two after DuckTales went off.
Okay, yeah, you're
because
right.
There's a DuckTales joke in this book at the end. At the end, when Angus is trying to say like, "Oh, I'm not guilty, I didn't do it," and then Donald's like, "Oh, that's funny, I haven't seen a good DuckTales like that in like years," or something like that.
Okay, yeah, I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, he said something about having seen good DuckTales on TV in years or something.
That's funny.
Which is gonna make me look for it now because I know it's right here. It is one of the last.
But poor Angus though. Like,
I know.
Duck Avenger did him wrong.
Yeah, which is horrible that he did him like that.
I do like the setup of how Lila decided to stay in this timeline and not go back
Yeah.
and travel. So she's going to be around. Didn't see much of Scrooge. I'm surprised.
No, you didn't see much of Scrooge, and it's funny because it is traditional Scrooge. For those who do not know, there is a difference between traditional Scrooge and the Scrooge a lot of us grew up with, and it's super silly and super simple. When I tell you, you're going to be a little upset about it. Traditional Scrooge normally has on a red jacket.
Oh, I didn't.
Scrooge we grew up with normally wears a blue jacket.
Yeah, I didn't even pick up on that. You're right.
Yeah, it's the same with Donald. Like a lot of the older Donald things have him in that. Like you saw, he has like it's dark blue, almost black, with sailor suit with the yellow.
I would have loved to see a pile of gold at the end of this somewhere.
You know what? I would have liked to have seen the vault had been Scrooge McDuck's vault.
Yeah.
And obviously, if they're going into his vault, he's going to end up showing up somewhere. And I thought that might have been funny to have him show up, them arrest Angus, take him off, and then, Scrooge being Scrooge, he's glad his money is safe, so he decides to go for a swim.
Yeah, looking at the cover for the issue 2, it looks like most of his stories are going to tackle space related stuff, so, and science related stuff.
Looks like the next one is something to do with space. And wait a sec. Hold on a sec. Is that Launchpad? No. Okay. I had to look at that again. There's somebody being blasted at the top, right by where it says Duck Avenger. And if you glance at it for a minute, it looked almost like Launchpad.
Launchpad from Mighty... Was it the Mighty Ducks?
He was on DuckTales, and he was on Darkwing Duck.
Oh, okay.
The pilot. Launchpad McQuack.
Ah, okay. Whew, man, it's been a while.
Yes, people, I know that. I know that.
I'm glad you do.
Yes. The greatest, worst pilot in the world.
It looks like they have an Uncle Scrooge book too. They're doing a Halloween book.
Yeah, if you go to the very back,
that one's $6.99.
Go to Halloween. The very back, go to the very back, the very last page, and you can kind of see the some of the older artwork for Donald.
Yep.
You kind of see he never really had a set color palette like most people. We traditionally think of him with that light baby blue, but he never had a set color palette. It was normally between the dark and the light. I know the weird things that I know. I'm done with that. We're done with Duck Avenger.
Oh yeah.
I'm backing away from Duck Avenger.
Sorry I chose that one. I should have known that.
You know what?
I should have known that it was gonna be long because of the price. Because you get your money's worth if you do want to go out and get this. I will tell you that.
If you want to go out and get it, the $5.99 price on it, 72 pages, it feels like a 72-page book. It's huge. You're definitely feel like you got your money's worth. But I don't know, story-wise, like you said, they could have cut certain parts up a little bit and made it smaller, or just honestly put this with the other issue and when they had made it a full-blown trade.
Yeah, because you get a full story arc in 72 pages.
Yeah, this is 4 issues. This is a 4, maybe 5 issue story arc. Oh my goodness! All right, moving on from
and it makes sense.
Duck Avenger.
Yeah, and one last thing. It makes sense that Disney, because I always forget that IDW is an imprint of Marvel. So since they're all family now, it makes sense.
I never knew that. You just taught me something. I did not know IDW was an imprint of Marvel, which makes a lot of sense because Marvel used to get the rights to a lot of stuff back in the day, and they always did make the better quality adaptations of things. For those who don't know, since we're throwing out little known Marvel facts about imprints and everything, Marvel Comics, for those who are fans of the Transformers, was actually the company that came up with the story of the Transformers.
I did not know that.
When they had the idea to Hasbro, when Hasbro bought the rights to the whatever. I can't remember what they were called in Japan, but they were called Transformers. They were just toys that transformed into stuff. And somebody from Hasbro saw them and was like, "Hey, we're going to buy those and sell those in America." It went to Marvel in order to get a backstory.
Oh, sorry, you're cutting out. Oh, no, sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're right. But I was just going to say everything that we basically know about Transformers came from Marvel Comics. You know, and I've heard it say that Marvel had the better adaptation of like Star Wars stuff, and I know that they did stuff with Godzilla, I believe, back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's just funny that I didn't know. I was wondering about IDW because I've just recently been hearing about them and seeing them heavily, and it seems like everything under IDW is
a main
licensed
property. Yep.
Yeah, it's a licensed property. They're like the Funko Pop of comic books. Like they have a license to everything. So you saying that, I was like, oh, well, that's awesome, and it kind of doesn't make sense, and especially in this case, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and just looking at the solicits in the back, I mean, you have Donald Duck, Duck Avenger, Ghostbusters, G.I. Joe, Godzilla. They also
Back to the Future. Yeah,
they also do Judge Dredd, which I've been reading. I haven't read the last couple issues, but that's not too bad actually.
Jack.
They got My Little Pony, Powerpuff Girls. So yeah.
Samurai Jack was on there too.
Yep. X-Files.
Like if you turn the page, it's got Samurai Jack. Yeah. Which is cool because I've been seeing IDW a lot lately, and I've been thinking like, it's a cool little company. They don't seem to be trying to necessarily outdo anybody. They're just like, there's this niche market that likes that wants comics and these properties, and we're do that. And now you're like, oh yeah, they're a Marvel imprint. It's like, oh well, Marvel's some geniuses for that.
Yeah, but let's rank our books this week. I will let you go first.
All right, now my list obviously gonna be a little shorter because I didn't read Daredevil. But
you're in luck.
But for me, I'm gonna get a little bit of hate for this, but my number one is going to be the Clone Conspiracy. My number two is a tie between Kill or Be Killed and Puppet Master.
Okay.
I mean, story-wise, like actual storytelling-wise, Kill or Be Killed is better. Puppet Master was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good Halloween type story. It was a quick read, straight to the point. It had a couple really good reveals to it. So I can't necessarily drop it to like 3. So those two are tied. And then Duck Avenger is my number 4, even though I do not have a number 3.
Right on.
I'm going to put Daredevil over Duck Avenger. And I did not read Daredevil.
Oh, interesting.
So
even
though Duck Avenger was fun, it had some fun parts to it.
It did. That's funny. So my list, I have Puppet Master at 1, Kill or Be Killed at number 3, Clone Conspiracy number 1 at 3, Duck Avenger at 4, and Daredevil number 12 at 5.
Oh, okay.
So that says something.
That does say something. Wow. That says a lot.
But yeah,
I just want to stress that Duck Avenger is not absolutely terrible.
We're not saying it's terrible.
In Duck Avenger, it had some fun parts to it. A lot of it was a little convoluted though. That was what did it for me, was the fact that there was some stuff that could have been trimmed out or cut out, or
like him collecting and stealing from that store. He didn't really need to, because none of those things that he was stealing he needed.
From what we saw, he didn't need them, because they didn't even have like a scene where they showed him assembling everything.
Yeah.
They could. That's one of those things where we know he stole a box from one of the first stores. We know he stole the diamonds.
Well, no, he
And
didn't.
then-
He got away, or he actually didn't take anything that time from the first one, because he was gonna.
the second store, the second
Yeah.
store he went to was a box store too,
Mhm.
though. But we know that he stole a box.
He went to Foxy
We
Brown's.
know that he stole these diamonds, and we know that he was trying to steal the whatever the substance was called. I don't remember right now.
Terrigenous. Terrigenous.
I was about to say he's trying to send a Terrigen mist. He was trying to make Inhumans, which was funny because he did make a comment about, I didn't know you guys had mutants in this time period, and I was like, really. But just knowing he stole those key items, and she said he's making some kind of time bomb, essentially. They could have, we didn't need to know he went to a hardware store and stole something. They could have just showed the box, like the bomb's assembled and it's in here. They went the extra couple panels to say, hey,
the extra 20 pages.
He needs wire and some pliers and some duct tape and some super glue, and he's gonna make this bomb later. I guess they wanted to show us he was a bad guy because the dude was like, "Hey, you gonna pay for that?" He's like, "No, I never pay." Ha ha ha.
Yeah. But again, we are not saying it's a bad book. It was just a long read. We did not expect it. Was there anything else? You got any honorable mentions that you were able to read?
I actually don't have anything current that I was able to get to. I got some stuff sitting. I got some stuff that I'm excited to get to that I got sitting. Like I know the new issue of Suicide Squad came out.
Yeah, I saw that.
I need to read my Suicide Squad.
We'll have to talk about that next issue when it comes out in 2 weeks.
That works for me. I am a Suicide fan for right now. I will say that for right now.
For good things about it.
Yeah, it's good, but it's definitely one of those premises, and it's one of those things where it can very easily go bad really fast.
Okay.
Yeah, I will just be probably like I said before, I've got stuff to catch up on reading, and I'm not really sure what I'm going to catch up on reading. I really want to start getting into these Marvel DC crossovers that I have. I want to put something together eventually for that. I want to do something with that, because I know a lot of people don't know that Marvel and DC have ever crossed over characters or done connecting storylines with each other since they're two different companies. Time. Yeah, it's been a while, so I definitely want to do something with those. So maybe I guess those would be my honorable mentions.
Word. Maybe we'll do a special
DC Marvel
episode.
crossovers.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a special episode where I'll read it too, and we can talk about it. Do a new book week episode.
That would be awesome. Maybe like a flashback episode.
Yeah, flashback. We'll call it the flashback moment.
Yeah, we could do it on a Friday and call it Flashback Friday.
There we go. We're
just talking about the old storyline. What you read? Go ahead.
I got a chance to read All-Star Batman #3.
Okay.
That continues to be a pretty solid story. A lot of people, from what I've heard, give John Romita Jr.'s art harsh words, but I haven't disliked it, and I think it's getting better throughout the story so far, and the colors have been on point. The price, it's $4.99, but I guess Snyder is attempting to get the price dropped, which means that because there's a Duke backup story, so more than likely that if he gets the price dropped, we might have to sacrifice the backup story. But overall, it's a pretty solid book. The cliffhanger at the end, I won't spoil any of the honorable mentions, but yeah, the cliffhanger at the end, I was like, whoa, it's interesting. I'll tell you off air. Howard the Duck 11 just finished. That is Chip Zdarsky's last issue of that run. It didn't get canceled.
Okay.
It didn't get canceled, but it was just, excuse me, his last issue. It was okay. Overall, some of the stories in the middle have been better, but he was kind of saying goodbye for the most part in the issue. these past 2 issues, I feel. And in the back, he like kind of talks about how he's like super glad for the support and how Marvel allowed him to tell some of these like funky stories and let him get away with it. Because there's some cool stuff, like Spider-Gwen shows up, Squirrel Girl shows up, Leah Thompson shows up, like from the movie.
Okay.
Her and Belle are like in the same storyline, so Leah Thompson is in the Marvel universe. So yeah, but yeah, it's the only thing I got to read so far. I need to catch up on some other stuff, I'm sure. But unfortunately, I've dropped some of my DC books. I've dropped Birds of Prey right now.
Yeah, you told me last week that you about I think we were talking about the Green Arrow number 8, was it?
Yeah.
We got to talk about Black Canary and Birds of Prey. He was like,
Green Arrow,
please.
Green Arrow has been good. We'll probably skip that one though. Skip the next issue that comes out. But I'll definitely plan on continuing to read that. But man, so yeah, that was our episode.
Yeah, well, that's episode 3.
Donald Duck probably took up half of it, but it was still fun.
Yeah, I want to apologize to all the listeners. I know sooner or later we're going to be getting comments and tweets and everything, probably about this episode. I know the first 2 episodes were a little lengthy,
Yes, they
we're
were.
working through things. We're getting things together here, but this one seemed like it was a pretty good length, and then all of a sudden Duck Avenger came up. And it seemed almost like we needed to have a to be continued at the end of this, just to talk about Duck Avenger.
Like I even before we started, I even like thought about like breaking up half of it, like where we like ended up getting pissed off at, where they do like the time travel thing. I was like, oh, we should just do the first half this week, second half next week.
I was going to say if we were trying to be funny,
yeah,
we could have stopped it right there.
Yeah.
And we could have left it on the cliffhanger. Everything you just heard in this podcast
doesn't happen.
It doesn't matter. It never happened. Tune in next week to find out what really happens. Oh man!
But yeah, thanks everyone. This is episode 3.
Episode 3.
We will be back next week. We'll figure out what books we're talking. If we figure it out, we'll definitely post it. Again, thanks again for listening. You can find us on Podbean under Columbus Comics Corner. We're on Twitter. Not on Facebook. Don't use Facebook. Facebook makes you pay to even like be seen. So, and I hate Facebook. So, but probably won't be on Facebook. But you can follow us on Twitter.
Unless Facebook wants to sponsor this podcast.
Yes, and pay for everything. Pay for all of our comics.
Pay for our comics. Send us to a con or something.
Yes. Just don't have your own con.
Oh my goodness. Book con. Yeah. Face con.
Oh. Be a bunch of stalkers.
Yeah. A bunch of people lurking around.
But again, everyone, this is episode 3. You got anything you want to plug, Kay? Anything you got upcoming?
Not as of yet. I do have a couple of projects that I'm working on that possibly will relate to our podcast.
Cool.
But as of right now, I don't really want to get too into any kind of details for those. I would though like to encourage anybody who listens to this or has heard episodes 1, 2, and now 3, and is enjoying themselves. Feel free to contact us on Twitter. We're not the channel's not on Facebook, but you can find us both on Twitter and contact us. You can leave messages for us. I'm really interested at this point to start hearing from the people who enjoy this and see what kind of things they might like to hear or might be interested in us talking about.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Weird Science for giving us a cool call out on their most recent episodes. I mentioned before.
Really?
Yeah, I mentioned before. I contribute like indie reviews to them. I've been doing that. I've got like 3 in so far, but they're cool dudes, and they have a really great DC podcast. If you want to hear more crazy rambling and like really in depth, comic book DC talk, like definitely check them out. There's others out there too, but for sure. So I want to give a thanks to them. Yeah, and again, follow us and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I just had no idea we got a little shout out. Oh, yeah, I feel honored. But again, I might have to wear a cape next episode.
There we go. Even though they can't see us yet.
I know you can't see us yet, but one of these episodes, I'm gonna do the whole show with like a cape one.
Well, for our 50th episode, we'll like dress up as a character and we'll put it on the YouTube. now you can't say stuff like that because it's on record now.
Somewhere along the line, we're gonna have somebody who is either following this whole thing from the beginning all the way up to episode 50. Or somebody who's going to come later and go back and hear this episode is going to be like, "Hey, it's episode 49. Are you guys wearing costumes next week?"
We'll see. Let me check my my bank account.
Yeah, we're see. Are we getting sponsored by some kind of cosplay company or something?
Or I'll just make a Doom mask out of cardboard and spray paint, which I might do.
Oh man, I'll just okay. No, I would do that. But I don't think they would enjoy my costume because I would probably dress up as a member of the Court of Owls and do the whole episode with the owl mask on.
Do it up.
That might be it. 50th episode. If we do that, if we do the costume, I'm going to say it right now. I'm probably going to be a member of the Court of Owls.
When you listen to this, let us know if we have if we have good ideas, or if you have ideas.
Yes. Yeah, I'll be willing to take requests, but right now it's Court of Owls. Even though I do have a Deadpool mask and a Deadshot mask sitting over here that I could, wear, but
HBO Go just added Deadpool to.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I saw that the other night. I haven't watched it. I've only saw it once in theaters. Haven't gone back to watch it again yet. I need to.
Man, I've seen Deadpool I've seen it like 5 times.
Have you? I really want to get the Blu-ray for all the commentary. Because just all the backstory. Because I'm sure they added so much.
I started to get the DVD, but then I saw the memory they had it on Blu-ray, and I'm trying to build up my Blu-ray collection. I was like, man, I really want this on Blu-ray. I'll just wait and get it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, usually the only time I'll get Blu-ray if it's because I'm a commentary guy and if it has a bunch of extras,
same here. I love extras.
But sometimes the first Star Wars Blu-ray didn't only had a short documentary and not the first Star Wars, but the most recent one, Force Awakens. The first round, it only had a couple things, and I was kind of bummed. But then a month later, they came out with a Blu-ray with extra stuff. I'm like, man, you guys are killing me.
See, stuff like that where I know that there's going to be definite sequels, I try to hold off on getting the DVD because I know that they're going to eventually have, once we get to episode 9, there's going to be some kind of special Star Wars collector set. There's going to be episode 7, 8, and 9 with all the special features and never before seen footage and
There's a really
stuff like that I try to hold off on.
Speaking of which, too, there's a really good documentary now on Netflix called Elstree 1976. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's either 76 or 78, but it's about a lot of the extras that were on the set of Star Wars Episode
I've seen
4.
it. Yeah,
I saw it when it came out. I watched it when it came out, and they finally added it to Netflix. I was like, cool.
And it's talking about how they're, not known by most people, but fans, they're celebrities.
Yeah. And there's a really good story about the guy who plays, who was under the Darth Vader mask. How he's not really.
Who I got to see.
Yeah, he's not really
he was at the Cincinnati Expo.
Yeah, him and Disney.
He was at the Cincinnati Expo.
That's good. Yeah, I guess him and Disney have a weird relationship, and they don't really talk anymore. They've kind of Disney's forgotten about him, unfortunately. I don't know what happened, but there's a lot in that documentary.
It's Disney, and to them, Darth Vader as a physical character, just a guy in a suit, It's probably more about the actual voice of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like I'm a horror movie guy, so it's kind of like you know, Jason versus Freddy.
Yeah,
Not the movie Jason versus Freddy.
No, I mean
the character.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't really.
Well, initially when they did you know, Jason, it was every version of Jason until like number 7 was a different person who was just a stuntman. It wasn't really about them doing any kind of actual acting per se.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until they brought in Kane Hodder that it was like, okay, we have someone who's actually trying to act. Where the flip side with Freddy is, Freddy was about the actor wearing the makeup.
Yes.
And we saw what happened, you know, when they did the remake and they tried to go a slightly different route with the way to do Freddy. It doesn't always work. So it's the same thing with probably Disney and Vader. They're looking at like, well, Vader's just a guy in a suit. We can get any dude that's like 6 foot something and put him in that black suit. He's Vader.
Yep. Simple enough.
Whereas the dude who played him was like, well, you know, I'm the original.
Yeah.
You know, I'm part of this legacy.
No, yeah. If you get a chance, definitely check that out. If you have Netflix,
I'm
I
watching
assume. Oh yeah, of course you
Say
do.
again?
I asked a dumb question of if you had Netflix.
Oh yeah. I was just watching Netflix this past week.
Yeah. But cool. All right, everyone. We're gonna get out of here. Again, thanks for listening. Comment.
We rambled long enough.
Oh yeah, we'll rant. We always rant. Get a hold of us again.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're at Blogspot. Excuse me, Blogspot, Twitter, and each of us have individual Twitters if you really want to follow us. But yeah, just look for us under Columbus Comics Corner. And thanks, everyone.
Yep, we will see you at episode 4.
Episode 4. Next week, we'll be reading Infamous Iron Man #1, Harley Quinn #6, Death of X #2, Batman #9, Spider-Gwen #13, and our pick of the week, Kiss #1.